Chapter 32:43. Brother Joie, how many supreme clear spiritual energy pills do you have? Gao Gu couldn't help but ask. Zhuowen put away the supreme clear spiritual energy pills and said nonchalantly, "Not many, only one bottle." The hall fell into a suffocating silence once again. Jing Kai, Gao Gu, and Yue involuntarily licked their lips. A divine pill like the supreme clear spiritual energy pills was hard to come by for them, but this guy actually had a bottle. This was simply inviting hatred. Brother Joie, how about this? Aren't you pursuing Yueru? I'll marry Yueru to you, and you'll give me all the supreme clear spiritual energy pills you have. How about that? Jing Kai couldn't help but ask. In Jing Kai's opinion, the supreme clear spiritual energy pills were too useful to her, far more important than the marriage between Yueru and Feng Bumming. Yueru's pretty face changed slightly. She was just about to say something, but Jing Kai glared at her sternly. Clan leader Jing Kai, I heard that your Sacred Martin clan has a Ho-E divine arrow. If you give it to me, I'll give you the bottle of supreme clear spiritual energy pills. How about that? Zhuowen smiled faintly. The smile on Jing Kai's face froze. She looked coldly at Zhuowen and said, "Ho-E divine arrow? I'm sorry, but our Sacred Martin clan doesn't have such a thing. Since you don't have it, I'll take my leave." Zhuowen stood up, cupped his hands at Jing Kai, and walked out the door. Zhuowen, you won't be able to walk out of the Sacred Martin clan today. All the experts in the hall stood up, and terrifying auras surged towards Zhuowen. Jing Kai, Gao Gu, and Yue also stood up and walked towards Zhuowen. Zhuowen walked to the door, but his footsteps paused as he said nonchalantly, "Clan leader Jing Kai, do you mean to keep me here?" "You're wrong. Our Sacred Martin clan doesn't welcome you. I want you to leave behind your life and the spirit ring on your hand. Attack." Jing Kai gave the order, and the 9 Sacred Martin clan experts revealed their true forms. They flew towards Zhuowen like numerous illusory figures. The true form of the Sacred Martin race was a marten that emitted a golden sacred light. Its body was light, and its speed was extremely fast. Zhuowen waved his sleeve, sending Saiku into his greater world. Then he stomped his foot, causing the space-time around him to distort. The 9 Sacred Martin tribe members fell into the spatial distortion, and their speed became much slower. Fate space-time slaughter. Zhuowen's figure was like a ghost in the distorted space-time. He pointed with his right hand, and a long purple river swept out of the void. The purple river seemed to have teleported, and it swept up the 9 members of the Sacred Martin clan, causing miserable shrieks to resound continuously. Bang, bang, bang. One by one, the Saint Martins fell from the purple river onto the ground. All of them had lost all signs of life, and were deader than dead. Jing Kai was enraged. She let out a cry and broke through the purple river's defense. Her jade-like palm emitted a blazing golden light as it blasted towards Zhuowen's chest. Gao Gu and Yue had grasped the timing very well. They broke through the purple river's defense from 2 other directions and unleashed their most powerful attacks towards Zhuowen's vital points. The 3 early-stage Tong Tian Lord experts had sealed off all of Zhuowen's escape routes. Even if he was an early-stage Tong Tian Lord, he would be severely injured by the combined attacks of the 3 experts. Zhuowen narrowed his eyes. He did something that shocked Jing Kai, Yue, and Gao Gu. That was because Zhuowen had given up on defense and attacked Yue. Among the 3, Yue was the weakest. He should have reached the early-stage Tong Tian Lord realm the shortest time. Gao Gu was the strongest among the 3, and he should not be far from breaking through to the mid-stage Tong Tian Lord realm. Zhuowen only wanted to end the battle quickly and get rid of the weaker one first. He also knew that he could not get rid of Gao Gu in a short time, so he could only use such a strategy. The moment he gave up on defense, Zhuowen had already used the mysterious light of creation to cover his body. He then punched Yue with his right fist. "You're courting death." Yue snorted coldly and also punched out. The two fists collided. Yue screamed as his right fist was immediately shattered. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face was extremely pale. The moment Yue was severely injured, Zhuowen flicked his finger. A sword light wrapped in lightning and fire energy swept out and caught up with Yue in an instant. Yue did not even have time to react before his glabella was pierced by the sword light wrapped in lightning and fire. His soul was extinguished. At the same time, Gao Gu and Jing Kai's attacks had already landed on Zhuowen's body. Zhuowen took the attack head-on. He grunted and spat out a mouthful of blood. Even though his Pango's sacred body was very powerful, his chest and shoulder blades were still shattered by the terrifying attacks. He could even clearly hear the sound of bones breaking in his body. Gao Ji's attack was the most terrifying. It landed on his chest and completely shattered his sternum. His internal organs were also severely injured. Zhuowen fell heavily on the ground, causing a cloud of dust to spread out. Gao Ji's eyes were filled with shock and anger. He did not expect Zhuowen to be so ferocious and kill Yue as soon as he came up. "Patriarch Jing Kai, this boy is severely injured. Let's continue to work together and kill him completely." Gao Gu hurriedly sent a divine thought to Jing Kai and then fell from the sky. But soon, a sword light of lightning and fire rushed over and slashed at Gao Ji's head. Gao Gu let out a long cry. The energy around him transformed into illusory images of red-crowned cranes. His aura skyrocketed to an extremely terrifying level as he fiercely fought with the sword of lightning and fire. F***CK. How can this Gao Gu be so strong? This dragon lord has reached the middle stage of the connecting heaven realm. How can I not defeat this Gao Gu? Xiao Hei's strange cry could be heard. Xiao Hei released a boundless domain of lightning and fire while shouting. The more Gao Gu fought, the more shocked he became. This divine weapon was too terrifying. He was an expert who had tried to reach the middle stage of the connecting heaven realm. His strength was much stronger than that of an early stage connecting heaven realm master. But now, he could not even take down a divine weapon. "Patriarch Jing Kai, what are you still looking at? Go and kill that Zhuowen. He's already seriously injured. We can't let him recover," Gao Gu said in a flustered and exasperated manner when he saw the stunned Jing Kai not far away. Jing Kai came back to her senses. She unleashed all her power and rushed toward the place where Zhuowen fell. She also knew the seriousness of the matter. Zhuowen's strength was so strong that it terrified her. The three of them worked together and killed Yue in one move. How terrifying was this guy? When Jing Kai landed in the hole where Zhuowen was, she was shocked to find that there was no sign of Zhuowen in the hole. A purple river instantly shot out from the ground like a giant serpent, enveloping Jing Kai's entire body. Bang! Zhuowen drilled out of the ground. He did not care about Jing Kai, who was trapped by the purple river. Jing Kai's strength was very ordinary. He did not care about her. What he cared about was Gao Gu. This Gao Ji's strength was somewhat beyond his expectations. He had to get rid of this Gao Gu as soon as possible. Zhuowen took out the Hou-Yi Godly Bow and Hou-Yi Godly Arrow, and suddenly pulled the bowstring to half an arc ever since he had refined the Hou-Yi Godly Bow and Hou-Yi Godly Arrow into their complete forms. Their power had increased to a terrifying level with his current physique. It was already difficult for him to pull the bowstring to a full moon. Whoosh! Zhuowen released the bowstring, and the Hou-Yi Godly Arrow shot toward Gao Gu with a terrifying killing intent. F asterisk CK. This guy still has the Ho-E godly bow. Run. QL11 sensing the terrifying killing intent below, Gao Gu immediately saw Zhuowen holding the bow and arrow. All the hair on his body stood on end. He did not even think about it and began to run. F asterisk CK. Your master long hasn't played enough yet. Why are you running, you little brat? Play with your master long for another 300 rounds. Xiao He naturally would not let Gao Gu go so easily. His Thunderfire domain immediately expanded. Its power was shocking and forcefully entangled Gao Gu. No. Chapter 3244. Golden Mountain Gao Ji's body exploded with a terrifying mist of blood. His body twitched as his tattered corpse fell from the sky. Ho Yi's arrow was simply too terrifying. Not only had it almost destroyed his physical body, but the terrifying killing intent emanating from the arrow had also rushed into his sea of consciousness and destroyed his soul. After Gao Gu fell, Zhuowen waved his sleeve, and the purple river that was wrapped around Jingkai immediately dispersed, revealing Jingcai's figure. At this moment, Jingkai was in a rather sorry state. She looked at Zhuowen cautiously. The fate space-time slaughter was extremely difficult to deal with. It was extremely difficult for her to resist within the Purple River. If Zhuowen had retreated a little later, Jingkai would probably have been seriously injured. After leaving the Purple River, Jingkai was just about to loudly berate Zhuowen when she immediately realized that something was wrong. She didn't see Gao Ji's figure. Soon she saw Gao Gu. However, what she saw was an ice-cold corpse. Gao Gu has died. Jingcai's beautiful eyes were filled with disbelief. Gao Gu was the strongest of the three of them. Back then, he had the experience of reaching the middle stage of the sky-connecting realm. Although he didn't succeed, his strength was far superior to ordinary early-stage sky-connecting realm masters. It hadn't been that long, yet Gao Gu had been killed by Zhuowen. Just how terrifying was Zhuowen? Jingkai retreated dejectedly. Her beautiful eyes fell on Zhuowen. She no longer had any desire to fight. She knew that she was completely no match for Zhuowen. The upper echelons of the Sacred Marten clan had basically all been killed by Zhuowen. The rest were just ordinary clansmen. In front of a peerless expert like Zhuowen, what use were ordinary clansmen with low cultivation bases? No matter how many of them there were, they were just useless cannon fodder. Zhuowen, I was the one who planned all of this. I only hope that you won't implicate my clansmen. They are innocent. Jingkai knelt on both knees and said in a pleading tone. Zhuowen's eyes were very cold as he spoke in a faint voice. I have already said that I have come to your Sacred Marten tribe for the Ho-E divine arrow. However, you do not know what is good for you. You coveted the item on my body and set up a killing formation to kill me. I'll give you sufficient compensation for this matter. I'll also give you the Ho-E God arrow. I only ask that you don't implicate my clansmen, Jingkai said sincerely. Zhuowen glanced at Jingkai and said, that will depend on your performance. If I'm satisfied with your performance, I can consider not implicating your clansmen. Zhuowen was not a bloodthirsty person, although Jingkai had plotted against him. He was not so vicious as to massacre the entire Sacred Marten tribe. The reason he had said this was naturally to create the image of a ruthless person who killed decisively. Otherwise, Jingkai would not have handed over the Ho-E divine arrow so readily if she did not have any worries. Thank you, Jingkai kowtowed to Zhuowen. Meanwhile, Yuefu, who was standing not far away, was completely dumbstruck. She covered her mouth with her jade-like hand as she stared at Zhuowen in disbelief. Yuefu realized that she could not see through Zhuowen anymore. When Zhuowen had first appeared before her, he was only a god of creation stage cultivator. She had also thought that he was only an ordinary god of creation stage cultivator. However, this fellow had defeated Mao Mo and killed 5 fire elephant race powerhouses and an enforcement team the moment he made his move. At the time, she had thought that this person had concealed his cultivation base and that his true strength was at most a half-step ascension overlord. However, this fellow had eliminated one of the 3 great commanders of Phoenix Blood City, Shintoji, in the blink of an eye. She had thought that the 3 early-stage ascension overlords would be enough to take him down, but she had been wrong again. Not only had Zhuowen survived the encirclement of the 3 early-stage ascension overlords, he had even killed them. Yuefu really wanted to ask Zhuowen just how powerful he was. However, she did not dare to ask. She did not even dare to approach Zhuowen. This fellow was simply a killing god. Moreover, Yuefu finally understood that Zhuowen's so-called marriage proposal was just an excuse. His true goal was the Ho-E divine arrow. Yuefu's face flushed red at the thought of this. She revealed a look of shock and anger. She felt that Zhuowen was looking down on her too much. At the same time, she began to doubt her own charm. "Let's go. Take me to the place where the Ho-E divine arrow is hidden," Zhuowen said indifferently. Jing Kai did not dare to disobey Zhuowen's order. She obediently agreed and led Zhuowen to the sacred Martin clan's forbidden area. Zhuowen did not even glance at Yuefu from start to finish. Looking at Zhuowen's departing figure, Yuefu's beautiful eyes revealed a look of resentment. No one had ever dared to deceive her emotionally. Yuefu had always been the one deceiving others. However, she felt that she had been tricked by Zhuowen. It was hard for her to swallow this anger. However, Yuefu felt a sense of powerlessness. Zhuowen was too powerful. Zhuowen did not even dare to fart in front of her. What could she change? Suddenly, the communication jade talisman at Yuefu's waist lit up. Yuefu frowned and took out the communication jade talisman. However, when she saw the name displayed on the jade talisman, her beautiful eyes revealed a look of pleasant surprise. She muttered to herself, "Bu Ming has actually come out of seclusion. Moreover, he has advanced to the heaven-reaching master level. I must inform Bu Ming of this and ask him to bring the experts of the Phoenix people to the sacred Martin clan. We must eliminate this Zhuowen." Yuefu's beautiful eyes flickered. After sending a message to phone Bu Ming, she left. The sacred Martin clan's forbidden area was a small golden hill. This small hill emitted a light that resembled the scorching sun. Rays of light interweaved on the small hill to form special runes and lines. Zhuowen could tell at a glance that this small golden hill was illusory. It was an illusory golden mountain formed by interweaving formations and restrictions that formed a complicated seal rune. Moreover, the level of the formations on this small golden hill was not weak. They had actually reached the peak of the creation level, which was even higher than the sacred Martin clan's guardian formation. Such a level was rare even in the Eldritch Heaven domain. Zhuowen suspected that the formations on the surface of this small golden hill were not set up by the sacred Martin clan's god formation masters. "Lord Zhua, the Ho-E divine arrow is sealed in this golden hill. This golden hill is a kind of peak creation level sealing formation. It was set up by the sacred Martin clan's top expert a long time ago." Jing Kai's eyes were filled with respect. She had now addressed Zhuowen as Lord Zhua. It could be said that she was extremely respectful. However, when Jing Kai mentioned that apex expert, her eyes revealed a trace of pride. This sealing formation was very unusual. In Jing Kai's opinion, it did not matter how powerful Zhuowen was. If he wanted to break this sealing formation, he might not be able to break it with brute force. Therefore, he might not be able to obtain the Ho-E divine arrow. Zhuowen did not know what Jing Kai was thinking. His gaze landed on the golden hill in front of him. He took a step forward and swept to the front of the golden hill. The formation runes on this golden hill were very mysterious. However, in Zhuowen's eyes, these runes were simply child's play. After all, it was only a creation-level array. Zhuowen put 2 fingers together and suddenly pointed at the golden hill. Jing Kai was stunned when she discovered that the golden hill was violently shaking. Then she saw with her own eyes that the golden hill, which had not changed for 10,000 years, was actually collapsing. Chapter 3245. Phoenix Cry Palasuan took the brocade box in his hand and opened it. Immediately, a terrifying killing intent surged out from the brocade box. Zhuowen snorted coldly. A powerful aura erupted from his body and completely suppressed the killing intent. A blood-stained divine arrow lay quietly in the brocade box. Zhuowen knew that it was Ho Yi's divine arrow. The tainted blood on the divine arrow was the blood of the golden crow. In ancient times, great shaman Ho Yi had forged 9 peerless divine arrows. With these 9 peerless divine arrows, he had single-handedly shot down 9 golden crows that were wreaking havoc in the untainted world and enjoyed eternal fame. Ho Yi was the leader of countless great shamans in that era. He was a terrifying expert, second only to the 12 grand shamans. It could be said that Ho Yi's 9 divine arrows were all tainted with the blood of the golden crow, including the Ho Yi divine arrow from the sacred marten tribe. Zhuowen had a total of 5 Ho Yi divine arrows. 2 of the Ho Yi divine arrows had the blood of the golden crow removed by the Black King and revealed their complete form. As for the 3 Ho Yi divine arrows that he had just found in the untainted world, they were still tainted by the blood of the golden crow and could not unleash their full power. Zhuowen had tried to use the power of the Pangu's sacred body to remove the blood of the golden crow. However, it took him a long time to remove a trace of it. In the end, Zhuowen gave up on removing the blood of the golden crow himself. Zhuowen knew that he was not strong enough. Otherwise, he could have easily removed the blood of the golden crow on the divine arrow like the Black King. At the same time, Zhuowen was even more wary of the legendary golden crow. Countless years had passed, but the tainted blood left behind was still so difficult to deal with. Then, wouldn't a complete golden crow be comparable to a peak sky-reaching master? It was a terrifying existence. After putting away the Ho Yi divine arrow, Zhuowen turned around and looked at the uneasy Jing Kai behind him. He said indifferently, "You have 2 choices now. 1, use your life in exchange for the survival of the entire sacred marten tribe. 2, your sacred marten tribe will be annihilated, and you will live." Jing Kai's beautiful eyes widened. Soon, she revealed a dejected expression and smiled bitterly. "Do I have a choice? I choose the first option. Our sacred marten race's legacy cannot be broken. If you swear an oath to the heavenly Tao right now that you won't attack my sacred marten tribe, I'm willing to pay with my life." Zhuowen glanced indifferently at Jing Kai and said, "I, Zhuowen, swear to the heaven Tao that if your sacred mink clan doesn't act against me, then I'll absolutely not look for trouble with your sacred mink clan in the future. If you break your oath, your Tao heart will shatter." Jing Kai looked deeply at Zhuowen and sighed in her heart. An oath to shatter one's Tao heart was extremely serious. Since this Zhuowen dared to make such an oath, it meant that he didn't intend to do anything to her clansmen. "Remember your oath." As Jing Kai spoke, she placed her finger on his forehead and crushed his soul. Zhuowen looked indifferently at Jing Kai, who had fallen to the ground and died. There was no pity in his eyes. Jing Kai had schemed to frame him and had long planned to take Zhuowen's life. If it wasn't for Zhuowen's strength, he would have already perished in the sacred marten tribe. Furthermore, his belongings would have been divided among Jing Kai and the others. When facing an enemy who wanted to take his life, Zhuo Wenjue had never thought of showing mercy. Zhuowen strode out of the Sacred Marten tribe. The Sacred Marten tribe was already scared out of their wits. No one dared to stop Zhuowen. The Phoenix Cry Palace was one of the top 3 most luxurious palaces among the Phoenix people. The owner of the Phoenix Cry Palace was the palace of the #1 prodigy of the Phoenix people, Feng Buming. At this moment, the Phoenix Cry Palace was rather lively. Most of the upper echelons of the Phoenix people had basically arrived at the Phoenix Cry Palace. The most conspicuous figures in the Phoenix Cry Palace were 3 figures. These 3 people constantly flickered with phoenix shadows and faintly emitted a soul-stirring aura. Among the 3 of them, one of them was a white-haired elder wearing a long black robe. This black-robed elder was one of the 3 great elders of the Phoenix people, Elder Hong. Zhuowen had met Elder Hong back at the Galactic Battle Arena. At that time, Elder Hong had bullied the weak and attacked Zhuowen because of the Saintus. Zhuowen wasn't unfamiliar with Elder Hong, or rather, he was very familiar with him. The other 2 people were very tall. They were at least 10 feet tall. They were wrapped in windbreakers and wore thick hoods. Looking from the mouth of the hat, it was actually pitch black. It was impossible to see the specific appearance of these 2 people. The windbreakers on the 2 of them were of the same style. The only difference was the color of the windbreakers. One of them had a blood-red windbreaker, while the other had a bright black windbreaker. It was a stark contrast. Furthermore, the aura emitted from the 2 of them actually surpassed that of the 2 great elders standing beside them. These 2 people were the famous Xuanhua guardians among the Phoenix people. The man in the blood-red windbreaker was called the Xuanhua Guardian, while the man in the black windbreaker was called the Heixian Guardian. The Xuanhua Guardians were very mysterious among the Phoenix people. They rarely went outside and had always been guarding the Phoenix people. Moreover, the Xuanhua Guardian's status among the Phoenix people was almost the same as that of the 3 great elders. They were on equal footing, not superior and subordinate. There's only half a year left until the Sorcerer's Song Conference. It's a great fortune for the Phoenix people that Bumming has successfully broken through at such a crucial time. The 2 great elders, Elder Hong and Elder Hong, said with gratified eyes. The Xuanhua Guardian nodded and said, Feng Bumming is the most powerful genius among the younger generation of the Phoenix people. If he hadn't broken through to become a master, it would have been difficult for him to get a spot in the Sorcerer's Song Conference. But now, I'm sure that Feng Bumming will definitely amaze the crowd and get a spot in the Sorcerer's Song Conference. Although the Heixian Guardian didn't say anything, he nodded in agreement. In the entire primitive celestial realm, there were only a handful of people who could become a master within 10,000 years. All of them were brilliant and terrifying geniuses. Now that Feng Bumming had also achieved it, they were naturally very happy. If the Saintess is still around and participates in the Sorcerer's Song Conference, she can still get a spot. With the Saintess's 99 Phoenix body bloodline, her cultivation speed is extremely fast. Although it's impossible for her to become a master in a short period of time, it's enough for her to become a master of creation. With the strength of her 99 Phoenix body bloodline, she'll be able to fight against a master of heaven, the Heixian Guardian said in a low voice. That human called Zhuo Wen is truly audacious. He actually dared to kidnap my clan's holy maiden. If I can catch him, I'll definitely make him suffer a fate worse than death. Elder Hong of the 2 clans gritted his teeth in anger when he thought of the Saintess. We failed to attack the human territory last time. If we want to attack the human territory again, I'm afraid it'll be a long time later. Moreover, we can't enter the human territory. It's impossible to capture Zhuowen, the Shuehua guardian said coldly. I heard that Zhuowen is Mu Qinshua's partner. The reason why Zhuowen kidnapped the saintess is mainly because of Mu Qinshu, right? Since Zhuowen is so loyal to Mu Qinshu, why didn't the Grand Elder hand over Mu Qinshu and exchange her for the saintess with Zhuowen? He Xian asked in surprise. Elder Hong of the two clans shook his head and said, Mu Qinshu is very important. It's related to the origin of the 99 Phoenix body. We can't hand her over so easily. Shuehua and He Xian fell silent. After all, they were key figures in the Phoenix people and knew many secrets. Mu Qinshu was only a human, but she possessed the 99 Phoenix body that the Phoenix people were envious of. This was very strange in itself. After all, the 99 Phoenix body was the bloodline of the Phoenix people. It was very strange that a mere human could possess the bloodline of the Phoenix people. Chapter 32:46. Phoenix Scripture. Some time ago, the Grand Elder and the Third Elder took Mu Qinshu away from the clan. They must have left the primitive heavenly realm to search for the origin of Mu Qinshu, right? Guardian Shua was suddenly asked. Elder Hong glanced at Shuehua and said, Indeed, if we can figure out how a mere human can obtain the bloodline of the 99 Phoenix body, it means that we Phoenix people may be able to find some way to stimulate the more powerful bloodline in our bodies. The Grand Elder and the Third Elder's actions are entirely for the benefit of the Phoenix people. Shuehua and He Xian looked at each other and could not help but frown. Just as they were about to say something, an uproar came from the front of the hall. The main character of the day, Feng Bumming, was leisurely walking out from an inner room at the side of the hall. Feng Bumming was dressed in a fiery red formal suit. His fiery red hair stood up, highlighting his arrogant and unbridled temperament. Even his eyebrows were fiery red. From afar, it looked as if his entire body was burning with flames. Feng Bumming saw Elder Hong and Shuehua, who were not far away, at a glance. He walked straight toward the three of them. Buming, congratulations to you this time. If the Grand Elder knows about this, he will be very happy. Elder Hong stepped forward with a gratified smile on his face as he congratulated Feng Bumming. Although Feng Bumming was arrogant, he still did not dare to overstep his boundaries in front of an elder like Elder Hong. Congratulations, Second Elder. You have made further progress and broken through the early stage of the Master of Heaven to the middle stage of the Master of Heaven. Feng Bumming said politely. Elder Hong laughed and said, I was lucky. Thanks to the divine elixir given to me by the Phoenix Master, it would not have been so easy for me to break through. The Phoenix Master is back. Feng Bumming's eyes lit up. He came back from the heaven accessing place some time ago. It is said that it was because of the Wu Song conference. Bumming, now that you have become a Master of Heaven, you are qualified to enter the heaven accessing place. This time, the Phoenix Master should have brought you a quota for today's heaven accessing place. But the Phoenix Master has told me that the quota for the heaven accessing place is a small matter. The most important thing now is the Song of Witches conference. If you can get a quota for the Wu Song conference, you can enter the wizard magical pond of the sorcerer tribe and sorcerer power. I think you know how important this is for you. Elder Hong looked at Bumming's eyes. Feng Bumming looked serious and said in a low voice, Don't worry, Elder Hong. Feng Bumming, will definitely win a spot in the Sorcerer's Song Conference and bring glory to my tribe. Is this translation is Wu. Translation, none translation. Translation, 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 translation. Right now, the Phoenix Clan's matters, big and small, are basically all presided over by me and Protector Xuanhua. Elder Hong said. Translation. Where is Elder Translation? Elder and Elder and Elder. Elder Hong, Elders. Great Clan Elder and Third Clan Elder brought Mu Qin Shui to the Demon Domain to search for Mu Qin Shui's origin. You don't need to worry about this matter. Elder Hong said. Feng Bumming nodded. He had known that Elder Hong Yu was going to take Mu Qin Shui to the demon area, but he did not expect that Elder Hong Yu and the others would leave so quickly. They left the tribe while he was in seclusion. Feng Bumming, you have just broken through and your realm is not stable yet. You came out of seclusion. Are you in a hurry? Protector He Xian said. Feng Bumming said, 2 enforcers and 2 clan elders, you should all know Uefu, right? Elder Hong nodded and said, is it the girl from the Sacred Martin clan? I know about that. Previously, you even brought this girl to the Phoenix Cry Palace. Is it related to this girl that you came out of seclusion? Yes, Uefu sent me a message. The 3 commanders of the Phoenix Blood City have all died. Even the leader of the Sacred Martin clan, Jing Kai, has died. According to her, they were all killed by the same person. Feng Bumming said. What? The 3 commanders of the Phoenix Blood City and the leader of the Sacred Martin clan were all killed. What is going on? We didn't know. Elder Hong's pupils constricted as he said in surprise. Uefu mentioned this before. It was one of the commanders of the Phoenix City, Gao Ge, who sealed the news in advance. It is said that she wanted to take the secret of the murderer for herself. Speaking of this, Feng Bumming looked at Elder Hong with bright eyes and said, Elder Hong, do you know the name of the murderer? Who is it? Elder Hong asked. Uefu said that the murderer's name is Zhuowen. Isn't this name the same as the human who kidnapped the saintess? Do you think there is such a coincidence? Feng Bumming said in a low voice. Zhuowen? Could it be that that damn little bastard has entered the great desolate heaven realm? Elder Hong's eyes flickered, but he quickly realized that something was wrong and said that Zhuowen is only a human. Even if he enters the great desolate heaven realm, he won't be able to hide the aura of a human. As long as a human enters the great desolate heaven realm, it will be easy for us foreign races to recognize him and attack him together. If that Zhuowen appeared in the great desolate heaven realm, the news would have spread long ago. Maybe that Zhuowen has a way to hide the aura of a human. Feng Bumming said. Impossible. The aura of a human is innate. It can't be hidden at all. Even the supreme experts of the human race can't hide their aura after entering the great desolate heaven realm. I've seen that Zhuowen before. He's just an ant. Back then, he relied on the Starry Sky Tower to luckily repel our foreign race army. That's why his reputation shook. But his true strength is far inferior to yours. Elder Hong shook his head. Since Elder Hong said so, the murderer called Zhuowen shouldn't be the human race's Zhuowen. But I'm very interested in this Zhuowen. He actually dared to kill the 3 great commanders of the Phoenix Blood City and the patriarch of the Sacred Martin race. He doesn't put us Phoenix people in his eyes at all. Feng Bumming's eyes shot out dense killing intent. Elder Hong nodded and said, this Zhuowen can kill the 3 great commanders. I'm afraid he's not an ordinary early-stage, great, desolate, heaven realm expert. But, Bumming, you have the bloodline of the Phoenix people. In terms of bloodline, you have a natural advantage. You can fight with an ordinary middle-stage, great, desolate, heaven realm expert. As long as that Zhuowen's cultivation is not at the middle stage, great, desolate heaven realm, it won't be difficult for you to kill him. Fine, you just advanced not long ago. It's time to show your talent and strength to the world. This time, I'll accompany you to the Phoenix Blood City. You can challenge that Zhuowen and fight him on the Weeping Blood Arena. If he doesn't dare to come to the Phoenix Blood City, then we'll send out the clan's experts to arrest him. Feng Bumming's eyes revealed a proud look. He said indifferently, even if he's at the middle stage great desolate heaven realm, I have the confidence to defeat him because my Phoenix sacred technique has already been cultivated to the peak of the 10th level. What? You've cultivated the Phoenix sacred technique to the 10th level? Elder Hong and the two guardians of Xuanhua looked at Feng Bumming in shock. The Phoenix sacred technique was the Phoenix people's secret technique. It was a supreme cultivation technique with a total of 15 levels. Since ancient times, those who could cultivate to the 10th level and above were rare. Feng Bumming was so young, but he was able to cultivate to the 10th level. His talent was too terrifying, and the benefits of the Phoenix sacred technique were real. It could greatly increase Feng Bumming's combat strength. Chapter 3247. Elder Hong, I'll have to trouble you to spread the news of me going to Phoenix Blood City. I want to see if that Zhuowen dares to come to Phoenix Blood City to accept the challenge. Feng Bumming said, Leave it to me. Elder Hong nodded. In Phoenix Blood City, the Emerald Blood Tea House reopened, as usual. However, the owner of the Emerald Blood Tea House had been changed to Humei. Humei was very smart. She did not spread the news of Emerald Blood Mulberry's death. She only announced that Emerald Blood Mulberry had appointed her as the new owner of the tea house. She was very clear that the reason why the Emerald Blood Tea House could operate safely in Phoenix Blood City was mainly because of Emerald Blood Mulberry, a veteran expert. Many of the foreign races who coveted the Emerald Blood Tea House did not cause trouble because they were afraid of Emerald Blood Mulberry's power. If the news of Emerald Blood Mulberry's death were to spread, Humei was very clear that she would not be able to stay as the owner of the Emerald Blood Tea House for long. She might even be killed. Humei's beautiful eyes focused. The communication jade at her waist lit up. She took it down and checked the news inside. Her beautiful eyes revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. She looked around and quickly saw two figures in a remote corner of the first floor of the Emerald Blood Tea House. The two figures were wrapped up so tightly that Humei couldn't see their faces clearly. Humei walked over and smiled. Guests, are you looking for a room? Yes, boss. Arrange the best room for us. The figure with his back facing, Humei said in a hoarse voice. Humei understood tacitly and led the two to the 10th floor of the Emerald Blood Tea House. After reaching the 10th floor, Humei opened the heaven room and let the two enter. She looked around, and after confirming that there was no one, she flashed into the room. After closing the door, Humei's beautiful eyes looked excitedly at the two people who had taken off their thick coats. But soon, Humei revealed a worried expression. She said in a deep voice, Zhuowen, why did you enter Phoenix Blood City again? Right now, your name is spreading like wildfire in Phoenix Blood City. It is said that the #1 prodigy of the Phoenix people, Feng Bumming, personally came to Phoenix Blood City because of you. It is really not the right time for you to enter Phoenix Blood City now. The two men who had taken off their thick coats were none other than Zhuowen and Siko. After Zhuowen left the Sacred Martin clan, he did not leave immediately. Instead, he returned to Phoenix Blood City. He had originally planned to barge into the Phoenix people. Furthermore, he had killed the 3 commanders of Phoenix Blood City. The Phoenix people would definitely send a large number of troops to intercept him at the border of their territory. Since that was the case, he might as well do the opposite and return to Phoenix Blood City. Zhuowen naturally didn't dare to stay in any of the other inns in Phoenix Blood City. Only the Bloodshed Tea House was absolutely the safest for him. After all, the person in charge of the Green Blood Tea House now was Hume, not the original Green Blood Sang. Fong Bumming came to Phoenix Blood City? Did he come for me? Could it be that Fong Bumming knew that I would come to Phoenix Blood City? Zhuowen asked in surprise. Fong Bumming probably doesn't know, but before he came to Phoenix Blood City, he had already spoken. He will be waiting for you at Phoenix Blood City's Weeping Blood platform. If you have the guts, then come over and accept his challenge. He also said that if you can survive the Weeping Blood platform, he, Fong Bumming, will not pursue the matter of you killing the 3 commanders of Phoenix Blood City. Furthermore, he will even give you the title of a guest elder of the Phoenix people, Hume said. What a big tone. This Fong Bumming is really arrogant. Is he so sure that he can kill me at the Weeping Blood platform? Zhuowen sneered. Hume hesitated for a moment and said, Zhuowen, that Fong Bumming is the #1 prodigy of the Phoenix people. He is well known among the younger generation of the primitive Heaven Domain. Back then, when Fong Bumming was still a half-step Ascension Master, he had already killed a Ascension Master at the initial stage. Furthermore, it is said that when Fong Bumming came out of seclusion this time, he had already successfully broken through to Ascension Master. I'm afraid that his combat power will only be more terrifying. Zhuowen didn't care. In his opinion, no matter how strong Fong Bumming's talent was, he had only just become an Ascension Master. Even if his combat power was terrifyingly strong, he would at most be on par with Gao Ge. Did that Fong Bumming say when he will arrive at Phoenix Blood City? Zhuowen asked. It should be in a few days. Zhuowen, do you want to leave before Fong Bumming arrives? I know of a secret passage that can secretly leave Phoenix Blood City, Hume said worriedly. No need. I really want to see what kind of tricks that Fong Bumming is up to. Miss Hume, during this period of time, I might have to trouble you to help me find out about that Fong Bumming. Zhuowen looked at Hume and said. Hume nodded. She wanted to persuade him again, but when she saw the determined look on Zhuowen's face, she knew that it was useless for her to persuade him. After Hume left, Ko got up and went to another room to cultivate. As for Zhuowen, he entered the great world. He entered the great world to see how his original body's cultivation was going. Ever since his original body obtained the blue, frost, heavenly spirit Ganoderma, his cultivation had improved tremendously. QL11, his original body sat cross-legged on a patch of grass on a small island in the middle of the lake. The aura around him was like an angry dragon dancing around continuously. Waves of white gas surged out of his body's acupuncture points. The original body had already consumed half of the blue frost heavenly spirit Ganoderma between his hands. His original body's cultivation had also advanced from the early stage of the Creator Realm to the late stage of the Creator Realm. He was not far from the peak stage of the Creator Realm. Zhuowen was a little surprised. The blue frost heavenly spirit Ganoderma was the high-grade heaven-reaching divine medicine. The surging medicinal power within it was enough to allow a heaven-reaching master to break through a small realm. However, his original body was only a Creator Realm. After consuming half of the blue frost heavenly spirit Ganoderma, he had only advanced from the early stage of the Creator Realm to the late stage of the Creator Realm. His original body's appetite was too big. Zhuowen sighed softly. He knew that this had a lot to do with his original body not having a Tao root. His original body had forcefully attained the Tao without a Tao root. His situation was very special. The energy consumption was even more terrifying than those geniuses in the primitive celestial realm who had powerful bloodlines. Ordinary people could not afford to raise him. It could be said that the resources Zhuowen had spent on his original body were enough to create several heaven-reaching masters. However, his original body had only advanced to the creator realm. Of course, this was not without benefits. His original body's combat power was far superior to that of a creator realm. He could fight with the creator realm. However, his original body's combat power was far inferior to his clones. His clone's Panga's sacred body had only advanced to 7 stars, but it could already defeat an early-stage heaven-reaching master. This was a very terrifying battle record. Zhuowen, I know you're here. You've already arrived at the Phoenix people. When are you going to let me go? How long are you going to imprison me here? On the small island in the middle of the lake, the resentful voice of the Phoenix people's saintess came from a luxurious pavilion. At the same time, Ghost Plume and Inwuxia walked out and bowed respectfully to Zhuowen. Zhuowen waved his hand, indicating that Ghost Plume and Inwuxia did not need to be so polite. He then stepped into the pavilion. Creak! Zhuowen opened the door and saw the crazed saintess of the Phoenix people. He said calmly, "Saintess, you don't have the bloodline of the 99 Phoenix body anymore. Even if you go back to the Phoenix people, what can you do? Can you still be the saintess?" The saintess of the Phoenix people was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. She looked panicked and said hurriedly, "Then return the bloodline of the 99 Phoenix body to me. When I go back, I'll still be the saintess. No one can take my position away from me." Zhuowen shook his head and waved his sleeve, unlocking the array formation restriction in the room. "Saintess, I've already unlocked the array formation restriction in this room. You can move freely in my great world." After saying this, Zhuowen left the small island in the middle of the lake. The saintess of the Phoenix people had lost her bloodline and was no longer a threat to him. He did not need to guard against her, as if she were a thief. Chapter 3248. Feng bumming in the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. During these 3 days, Zhuowen had basically been cultivating in seclusion in his room. During these 3 days, the entire Phoenix Blood City gradually became lively. Many of the foreign races in the city knew that the #1 prodigy of the Phoenix people, Feng bumming, had come out of seclusion. It was said that he was rushing towards Phoenix Blood City. Everyone knew that Feng bumming had mobilized so many people to come to Phoenix Blood City because of Zhuowen. Not long after Zhuowen killed Gao Gu and the others, the news of the 3 commanders of Phoenix Blood City being killed by him spread. Zhuowen was very clear that for this news to spread so quickly, there must be someone behind the scenes adding fuel to the fire. Zhuowen did not have a hard time guessing that the person who added fuel to the fire was the Sacred Martin clan's Yuefu. The reason why Zhuowen did not go out to stop it was not because he was tolerant of Yuefu. On the contrary, he needed Yuefu to help him spread the news. He guessed that since Feng bumming had come to Phoenix Blood City, he would definitely be accompanied by the experts of the Phoenix people. He could use this opportunity to kill Feng bumming and the experts that came with him at the same time, and use this to weaken the high-end strength of the Phoenix people. This way, the danger of him intruding into the Phoenix people would be lower. After all, the Phoenix people were a large race. If Zhuowen wanted to intrude, he naturally had to think carefully. If he entered rashly and got trapped, not only would he not be able to save Mu Chinxua, but he would also lose his life. This was courting death recklessly. Outside the city gates of Phoenix Blood City, many foreign races gathered. Their gazes fell on the outside of the city gates. Outside the city gates, a group of armored cavalry was approaching. The leader of this group of armored cavalry was a young man wearing a fiery red robe. This red-robed young man was naturally the strongest genius of the Phoenix people, Feng bumming. Elder Hong rode a similarly tall horse and followed beside him. It is indeed the Phoenix people's Feng bumming. He actually came to Phoenix Blood City. Aren't you talking nonsense? The 3 commanders of Phoenix Blood City were all dead. With such a huge matter, the Phoenix people would definitely send people over. Look, Fong Bumming is accompanied by Elder Hong from the Phoenix people. He's an expert who has been famous for a long time. It seems that Zhuowen has made a big fuss. He actually forced the Phoenix people to send such a powerful person. The Phoenix people are serious this time. Even if Fong Bumming released the news that Zhuowen wouldn't dare to come to Phoenix Blood City, many of the foreign races gathered outside the city gates were discussing fervently as they looked at the approaching cavalry with reverence in their eyes. Fong Bumming suddenly pulled the reins, and the tall horse under him stopped in front of the city gate of Phoenix Blood City. His torch-like eyes scanned the surroundings as he shouted, "Everyone, I am Fong Bumming of the Phoenix people. In Phoenix Blood City, if you can give me clues about that Zhuowen, the Phoenix people will not mistreat you. I, Fong Bumming, hereby make a promise. Anyone who can give me a definite clue will receive a Genesis Divine Elixir." Fong Bumming's words were like a stone that fell into the water, causing intense ripples and waves on the surface of the water. Everyone's eyes were burning with passion. A Genesis Divine Elixir was extremely valuable in the primitive heaven domain. Many Genesis masters had never even seen a Genesis Divine Elixir before, let alone consume it. It was obvious how tempting a Genesis Divine Elixir was to these foreign races. In an instant, many of the foreign races gathered outside the city gate hurriedly left. They were all anxious to find out news about Zhuowen, hoping to get some clues to exchange for a Genesis Divine Elixir from Fong Bumming. Elder Hong came to Fong Bumming's side and looked at the deserted city gate. He frowned and said, "Bumming, I don't think that Zhuowen is in Phoenix Blood City." After he killed the 3 great commanders, he must have thought that the Phoenix people won't let him off so easily. He must be on his way to escape from the Phoenix people's territory now. Fong Bumming smiled faintly and said, "Elder Hong, didn't you already send an order to investigate the borders of the territory? You also notified the other subordinate races, but there was no news about that Zhuowen. They don't even have any impression of him." "What does this mean?" Elder Hong frowned and said, "What you are trying to say is that Zhuowen didn't escape at all. How is this guy so daring? He killed the 3 great commanders and didn't escape immediately. Isn't he too conceited? I think that Zhuowen must have thought of escaping, but he is very smart. He might think that the most dangerous place is also the safest place. In the Phoenix people's territory, which place is the easiest place for us to overlook?" Fong Bumming asked. "Phoenix Blood City," Elder Hong said. "Yes, this Zhuowen killed Shintaji openly in Phoenix Blood City. As long as one has a normal mind, they would never think that Zhuowen would dare to return to Phoenix Blood City and hide there. It's precisely because of this that Phoenix Blood City is the safest place for Zhuowen instead. Unfortunately, this Zhuowen met me. He is still too inexperienced to play this game in front of me." At this point, Fong Bumming's eyes revealed a proud look, as if everything was under his control. Elder Hong nodded. Fong Bumming's analysis was clear and logical, and he also felt that it made sense. "Let's go to the Green Blood Tea House first. Air Fu has already set up a private room there. Maybe Air Fu will have some clues there." As Fong Bumming spoke, he urged his horse to take the lead and charged into Phoenix Blood City. Soon, they arrived at the Green Blood Tea House. The foreign tribes who were shopping near the Green Blood Tea House were frightened when they saw Fong Bumming and the others. They quickly hid far away to avoid disturbing Fong Bumming and the others. Inside the Green Blood Tea House, Hume, who was greeting the guests, saw the Phoenix people's cavalry outside. Her delicate body trembled, and the tea in her hand almost dropped. Fortunately, Hume reacted quickly and stabilized the tea in her hand. Hume's inadvertent action was noticed by Elder Hong. He glanced at Hume but did not say anything. Instead, He dismounted from his horse and followed Fong Bumming into the green blood tea house. After Hu Mei placed the tea on the table, she quickly went forward and greeted with a standard smile, "Isn't this Lord Fong Bumming and Lord Hong of the Phoenix people? I wonder what brought the two of you here. Bring us to the 10th floor of the Earth Pavilion. I have a friend who has already set up a private room there." Fong Bumming said lightly. Hu Mei nodded and smiled. She greeted the two of them and walked towards the 10th floor of the green blood tea house. At the same time, she prayed that Zhuowen would not come downstairs at this time. Otherwise, it would be terrible if he met the two of them. She wanted to send a message to Zhuowen, but Elder Hong kept staring at her. This made her not dare to make any unnecessary movements. Otherwise, it would be easy for them to be suspicious. She did not dare to use her divine thought to send a message. Her strength was too low. Elder Hong and Fong Bumming could easily detect her divine thought. "That's right. I am an old friend of Green Blood Sang. After we enter the private room, help me inform Green Blood Sang. I plan to have a good chat with him." Elder Hong asked casually. Hu Mei's heart tightened, but her pretty face showed a standard smile, and said, "Lord Hong, it's actually like this. Lord Greenblood Sang is now at a critical juncture of his seclusion. He told me in advance that no one is to disturb him." Chapter 3249. Provocation. Blue Blood Mulberry went into seclusion, and now he's giving you full authority over the Blue Blood Tea House. Elder Hong stopped in his tracks and sized up Hu Mei with a sharp gaze. This made Hu Mei feel very uncomfortable. "A month ago, Blue Blood Mulberry sent me a message and asked me to come to the Blue Blood Tea House if I had the time. He promised to treat me well. In the blink of an eye, he went into seclusion and gave you full authority. Is Blue Blood Mulberry blind?" Hearing this, Hu Mei's delicate body trembled, but she quickly calmed down and said, "I didn't know that Master Blue Blood Mulberry suddenly went into seclusion. He only said that he had some enlightenment, and he was very anxious at that time. He only gave me instructions and immediately went into seclusion. I still can't believe that he actually let me take charge of the Blue Blood Tea House." Speaking of this, Hu Mei's beautiful eyes revealed a look of excitement, and her face flushed red. Elder Hong looked deeply at Hu Mei and nodded. "Since Blue Blood Mulberry is in seclusion, then there's no need to disturb him. Continue to bring us to the 10th floor of the Earth Room." Hu Mei quickly responded and continued to lead the way. After a while, the three of them entered the 10th floor. Hu Mei pointed at the door next to the Heaven Room and said, "My lords, that's the Earth Room." Fong Bumming glanced at the Heaven Room and said indifferently, Fong Bumming, have always wanted the best room. Who's staying in the Heaven Room? I'll pay double the price to get the people inside out." Hu Mei's heart skipped a beat, and she quickly said, "I'm not sure who the guests in the Heaven Room are, but judging from their auras, they're not ordinary people. Also, the Blue Blood Tea House has a rule that we can't casually drive away guests. So," speaking of this, Hu Mei's beautiful face was filled with embarrassment. "You dare to refute me?" Fong Bumming stared at Hu Mei sternly as a powerful aura suddenly surged over. Puchi, Hu Mei's strength was too weak. The moment she came into contact with this powerful aura, she spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated until she hit the wall behind her. Creak! At this time, the door to the Earth Room opened, and the beautiful Uefu walked out from inside. "Bumming, you're finally here." Uefu excitedly pounced forward and hugged Fong Bumming. Fong Bumming did not refuse. He hugged Yuya's slender waist and said with a smile, "It's all because my baby was bullied. That's why I rushed over to see you." Uefu giggled and revealed a shy expression. Elder Hong coughed dryly and said, "Buming, Miss Erfu, Let's go in first before talking. We still have some questions to ask you. Yuefu knew what Elder Hong meant and naturally did not refuse. With a chuckle, she led Feng Bumming and Elder Hong into the earth-ranked room. Seeing that Feng Bumming and the others had ignored her and entered the room, Hu Mei heaved a sigh of relief. She was really afraid that Feng Bumming would kill her indiscriminately. He knew very well that with Feng Bumming's status, no one would say anything even if he killed her on the spot. Hu Mei looked at the heaven room and hesitated for a moment. She did not knock on the door, and instead left the 10th floor. However, after leaving the 10th floor, Hu Mei sent a message to Zhuowen, informing him of what had happened and asking him to be careful. Of course, in her message, she advised Zhuowen to change rooms. After all, he was too close to Feng Bumming and the others just next door. Unfortunately, Zhuowen's message was to tell Hu Mei not to worry and that he would take care of this matter. Hu Mei sighed softly. She did not care much about this matter. She really could not see through Zhuowen. Could it be that Zhuowen had stayed behind to fight Feng Bumming? Although Hu Mei knew that Zhuowen was very strong, she knew that even if Zhuowen could not win against Feng Bumming, his life would not be in danger. However, Feng Bumming did not come alone. The Phoenix people, Elder Hong, also came with him. Elder Hong was a true expert. Because of his powerful Phoenix bloodline, his strength was extremely terrifying. Even if the 3 commanders of Phoenix Blood City joined forces, they would not be able to kill Elder Hong. In Hu Mei's opinion, no matter how strong Zhuowen was, could he be stronger than Elder Hong? Once Zhuowen dared to appear in front of Feng Bumming, his fate would be miserable. In the heaven room, Zhuowen put away the communication jade talisman and said to Saiku, who was sitting not far away, "Saiku, help me pass a message. Pass this jade talisman to Feng Bumming in the earth room." After Zhuowen passed the jade talisman to Saiku, he got up and left the room. Saiku was stunned. He looked at the jade talisman, but did not read the contents. Instead, he used his innate ability to turn himself into an insignificant servant in the green blood tea house. He knocked on the door of the earth room. Soon, the door opened and Yuefu walked out. Yuefu's beautiful eyes frowned. She looked coldly at the servant outside the door and said, "I need a reasonable explanation for knocking on the door. Otherwise, you will die here today." Saiku was submissive. He quickly passed the jade talisman to Yuefu and said submissively, The guest next door asked me to pass this jade talisman to you. It is said that there is very important information in it about that Zhuowen." Upon hearing the name Zhuowen, Yuefu's beautiful eyes shrank. She quickly took the jade talisman with a serious expression. "You can leave now." After Yuefu said this, she immediately closed the door. In the hall of the earth room, Feng Bumming and Elder Hong looked at Yuefu, who was walking back with a serious expression, with confusion. "Yuefu, what's wrong? What is the jade talisman in your hand?" Feng Bumming asked. Yuefu sat beside Feng Bumming and handed the jade talisman to him, saying, "Bumming, this jade talisman was given to me by a servant of the Green Blood Tea House. It is said that the jade talisman contains information about that Zhuowen." Hearing this, Feng Bumming's expression suddenly became serious. He took the jade talisman and checked it with his divine sense. After a while, Feng Bumming's expression became ugly. He threw the jade talisman on the ground and said in exasperation, "That Zhuowen is really arrogant." Yuefu and Elder Hong did not understand what was going on. Elder Hong quickly asked, "Bumming, what is going on? What is the content of this jade talisman that made you so unhappy?" "The information in this jade talisman was left behind by that Zhuowen. He actually said that I am not qualified to challenge him. If I am not convinced, I can go to the Weeping Blood platform to find him. He will be waiting for me there." Feng Bumming said coldly. "Elder Hong, and Yuefu both had strange expressions on their faces. This Zhuo Wen was too arrogant. He actually said that Feng Buming was not qualified to challenge him. Who did he think he was that he dared to say such words? Where is the person who gave this jade talisman? Elder Hong asked. That servant said that it was given by the person in the room next door. Should we break into the room next door to take a look? Yuefu said with uncertainty. That is the heaven room. If we break in now, there will definitely be no one. Let's go to the Weeping Blood platform. Since this Zhuowen said that he will be waiting for him there, then Feng Buming, will fulfill his wish. I will let him die, the Weeping Blood platform red with blood. Chapter 3250. On the Blood Weeping platform, Zhuowen arrived near the Blood Weeping platform and saw the tall and majestic platform in front of him. It was the Blood Weeping platform. The Blood Weeping platform had been destroyed by him. This Blood Weeping platform should have been renovated by the people of Phoenix Blood City. It looked new. Most of the foreign races that passed by didn't seem to be surprised by this new Weeping Blood platform. They didn't even give it a second glance when they passed by. Zhuowen found a restaurant near the Blood Weeping platform and chose a seat by the window. He ordered a few dishes and immortal wine and drank by himself, silently waiting for Feng Buming and the others. He knew that Feng Buming should be here soon. Master Zhuo, a figure carefully walked over and sat opposite Zhuowen. Zhuowen glanced at the figure and asked indifferently, "Have you handed the jade slip to Feng Buming and the others?" This figure was Saiku, who had been sent to the Earth Room by Zhuowen to deliver the jade slip. It has been successfully delivered to Yuefu. Feng Buming should have already seen the information in the jade slip. Master Zhuo, I wonder what you wrote in the jade slip. Saiku hesitated for a moment. He was very curious about the contents of the jade slip. I said that I will wait for him at the Blood Weeping platform. Ask Feng Buming to get over here. Zhuowen said indifferently. Saiku's heart tightened, and a strange look appeared in his eyes. He did not expect Zhuowen to say such arrogant words. However, Saiku did not care too much. He thought that Zhuowen was just talking and would not face Feng Buming directly. After all, Feng Buming's strength was terrifying, and he had an expert like Elder Hong by his side. As long as one's mind was normal, they would not face Feng Buming directly. In Saiku's opinion, Zhuowen's information was just to tease Feng Buming. Master Zhuo, this move of yours is quite brilliant. When Feng Buming comes to the Blood Weeping platform aggressively and realizes that you are not there, he will probably be angered to death. Saiku said with a chuckle, "Who said I was just toying with him?" Zhuowen said indifferently. Saiku was stunned. He asked cautiously, "Master Zhuo, you're not really planning to go against Feng Buming, are you?" Zhuowen nodded and did not speak. He drank a mouthful of celestial wine, and his gaze landed on the Blood Weeping platform that stood in the middle of the street, not far away. He faintly said, "Today, I will make Feng Buming regret coming to Phoenix Blood City." Saiku opened his mouth, but in the end, he swallowed his words of persuasion. Although he hadn't spent much time with Zhuowen, he could tell that once Zhuowen made up his mind, even 10 bulls wouldn't be able to pull him back. He was very stubborn. Suddenly, there was an uproar in front of the street. Then, the dense group of outsiders opened up a rather wide path. They saw a group of cavalrymen galloping down the street in front of them. They didn't care about the other races on the street. This group of cavalrymen was very rude and unreasonable. Those in front of them, who couldn't dodge in time, were directly crushed by the cavalrymen. Blood spurted out, and they were seriously injured. However, these unlucky outsiders didn't dare to find trouble with this group of cavalrymen. They could only drag their seriously injured bodies and leave dejectedly. This was because they all recognized the flag on this group of cavalrymen. It was the symbol of the Phoenix people. In other words, this group of cavalrymen belonged to the Phoenix people. Many people could guess that the leader of this group should be the #1 prodigy of the Phoenix people, Phong Bumming, who in Phoenix Blood City could afford to offend such a big shot. In the restaurant, Zhuowen's gaze fell on Elder Hong, who was beside Phong Bumming. He couldn't help but frown. He knew this Elder Hong. Back in the Starry Sky battlefield, he had chased after him. He clearly remembered that when he controlled the Starry Sky cannon, the first person he destroyed was this Elder Hong. Logically speaking, this Elder Hong should have completely fallen. How could he still appear in front of him alive? Stop! In front of the cavalryman, Phong Bumming suddenly pulled the reins and stopped the big horse under him in front of the blood-weeping platform. When Phong Bumming stopped, the mighty cavalry behind him also stopped in unison. The demon horses neighed, and their iron hooves stomped on the ground, causing dust to fly up into the sky. It had a heaven-shaking power. Phong Bumming flipped off his horse and rushed onto the blood-weeping platform. As for Elder Hong and Yuefu, they jumped off their big horses and stood at the edge of the blood-weeping platform, silently watching Phong Bumming on the platform. Yuefu frowned slightly. She looked around and didn't see Zhuowen's figure. She said in a deep voice, "Elder Hong, that Zhuowen can't be playing with us, right? I don't see him at all." Elder Hong's expression wasn't good. He originally thought that Zhuowen, who was so arrogant, would wait for them at the blood-weeping platform and then obediently send himself to his death. He didn't expect that there was no one at the blood-weeping platform, and they were like fools waiting at the blood-weeping platform. Phong Bumming's eyes were calm. He stood on the platform like a javelin and said in a loud voice, "Zhuowen, since you asked me to come to the blood-weeping platform for a battle, now that I'm here, you're hiding in the dark like a coward. I know you're nearby. If you still have the guts, then come out. I'll wait for you here for 10 breaths. If you don't come out, I'll personally go to the Devouring Clan and wipe out your clan." The corner of Phong Bumming's mouth curved into a mocking smile. Then he closed his eyes and crossed his arms in front of his chest, waiting silently. That Zhuowen is from the Devouring Clan? How is that possible? The Devouring Clan is just a small clan. The strongest clan leader is only a creator. When did they have such a monstrous genius like Zhuowen? It's hard to believe, but Phong Bumming is the #1 heaven's pride of the Phoenix people. His news shouldn't be wrong, right? Because of Phong Bumming's appearance, many alien tribes gathered around the blood-weeping platform. When the pagans heard that Zhuowen was from the Devouring Clan, they were astounded. Some of them even started to have other ideas. Zhuowen's face darkened. He wasn't surprised that Phong Bumming knew that he was from the Devouring Clan. However, Phong Bumming was too cunning. He had announced his clan directly. Zhuowen had killed the 3 commanders of the Phoenix Blood City. He was in the eye of the storm. Many people suspected that he had a big secret. Otherwise, he couldn't be so intimidating. In the Phoenix Blood City, many alien tribes were eyeing Zhuowen covetously, and now his clan's information had been announced. Zhuowen understood clearly that many alien tribes had their eyes on the Devouring Clan. Luckily, Zhuowen had set up the Sky Passage Great Formation in the Devouring Clan. Otherwise, if many experts from the Phoenix Blood City came to the Devouring Clan wouldn't have survived. As long as the Phoenix people didn't attack with all of their powers, Zhuowen was confident that the Sky Passage Great Formation of the Devouring Clan wouldn't have a problem. 10 breaths of time passed quickly. Phong Bumming slowly opened his eyes, looking around. He said coldly, "You're a coward indeed. From today on, I, Phong Bumming, announce that the Devouring Clan will be erased from the great, desolate heaven domain." Hearing Phong Bumming, everybody was in an uproar. The alien tribes under the platform disdained Zhuowen. He had invited Feng Bumming to fight, but now he had run away. He was a coward with no principles. They all knew that Zhuowen was too intimidating. It was understandable that Zhuowen didn't have the guts to come out. You're Feng Bumming, right? I want to ask you, who do you think you are? How dare you say that you want to erase the devouring clan? A calm and indifferent voice slowly came from a restaurant not far from the blood-weeping platform. Numerous gazes gathered in that direction. Many of the foreign races saw a figure slowly standing up from a seat by the window of the restaurant. Chapter 3251. Qing Mang. Within the tavern, all of the foreign races who had been watching the commotion were also attracted by this figure. Zhuowen's position was really too remote. Although it was near the window, it was the most remote of all the window seats. If one didn't look carefully, it was really hard to notice. Now that Zhuowen had stood up, all of the outsiders in the tavern revealed looks of surprise. But soon, the originally lively restaurant burst into an uproar. Many people didn't expect that Zhuowen, who had been the talk of the town in Phoenix Blood City recently, would actually be leisurely drinking wine in this restaurant. Was there something wrong with this fellow's brain? Didn't they say that Zhuowen killed the 3 great commanders of Phoenix Blood City? Why is his aura so weak? It seems like he's only a creator. Could it be that the legend is wrong? Or could this guy be an imposter? After a short commotion, many of the foreign races in the restaurant calmed down. Their eyes were filled with suspicion as they looked at Zhuowen, because Zhuowen's aura was really too weak. It was only the aura of a creator. This kind of guy could also kill the 3 sky-piercing realm commanders of Phoenix Blood City. This was a joke, right? Zhuowen ignored the commotion around him. Instead, he instructed Saiku and walked out of the restaurant. However, the moment he stepped out of the restaurant, a large hand stopped him. Zhuowen stopped in his tracks and looked at the figure in front of him. This was a foreign race member who was more than 2 meters tall. His head was flat and covered with green scales. The pupils of his eyes were vertical. In addition, this foreign race member had a huge tail that looked like a lizard's. It seemed to be made of steel and emitted a faint metallic luster. This lizard man's aura was rather vast. He was actually a late-stage creator. That pair of vertical pupils stared coldly at Zhuowen, full of malicious intent. It's Qing Mang of the green lizard race. She's a genius of the green lizard race. She's a famous expert in the Phoenix Blood City region. I didn't expect this guy to suddenly stand out. Can't you tell? Qing Mang obviously saw that Zhuowen's cultivation level was not high. She was trying to show off in front of Feng Bumming. She was trying to please Feng Bumming. So that's how it is. If I had known earlier, I would have stood up too. This way, I might be able to gain Feng Bumming's favor. Who knows, I might be able to build a good relationship with Feng Bumming. Within the inn, many of the foreign races let out looks of regret. They were upset that they had not acted fast enough to stop Zhuowen before the green light could reach him. After all, Zhuowen was just a creator. To them, he was not that strong. Even if they could not defeat him, they could at least show off in front of Feng Bumming. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. But now that Qing Mang had already blocked Zhuowen, they naturally couldn't go up. Wasn't that going against Qing Mang? Qing Mang was a famous expert in Phoenix Blood City. She was an existence that no one in the restaurant could afford to offend. They naturally wouldn't come out to provoke Qing Mang now. Feng Bumming stood quietly on the Weeping Blood platform, watching with interest as Qing Mang blocked Zhuowen's path. Of course, Feng Bumming's main attention was not on Qing Mang, but on Zhuowen, who was standing in front of her. Although he had heard from Yuefu that Zhuowen's cultivation level was not high, He was only a creator. Fong Bumming did not believe it at first, but now that he had seen Zhuowen with his own eyes, he knew that what Yuefu had said was true. A mere creator could actually kill Gao Ge and the others. This Zhuowen is definitely not simple. He must have a big secret on him. However, it's a pity that Zhuowen has met me. His blood is about to splatter on the Weeping Blood platform, and all his secrets are destined to be mine. Fong Bumming sneered as he thought to himself. Old Hong frowned as he looked at Zhuowen. Although Zhuowen's face was covered with the unique scales of the devouring clan, and his appearance was not quite the same as the human Zhuowen's. But Old Hong still felt a sense of familiarity from Zhuowen, as if he had seen this person somewhere before. Old Hong shook his head as a mocking smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He knew that he was overthinking. The Zhuowen in front of him only had the same name as the human Zhuowen, but they were actually not the same person. After all, this guy was a genuine member of the devouring clan. Old Hong could not feel a trace of the human aura from Zhuowen at all. A good dog doesn't block the way. Zhuowen stopped and looked indifferently at Qing Mang. Qing Mang grinned, his smile full of malevolence. He stared at Zhuowen and said, "You're going to be a dead man soon. I won't argue with a dead man. To deal with trash like you, Master Fong Bumming doesn't need to do it himself. I'm enough. I'm giving you a chance now. If you kill yourself in front of me, I'll leave your corpse intact." Qing Mang stood at his spot. His eyes were filled with arrogance, as if he was looking down at Zhuowen from a high position. Idiot! Zhuowen didn't want to mind Qing Mang, who thought highly of himself. He threw a punch at Qing Mang's face. "You dare to attack me? You're courting death." "Ha ha!" Qing Mang laughed, the malevolence in his eyes thickening. He wanted to make this hateful member of the devouring clan regret attacking him. He would tear this member of the devouring clan into pieces with his bare hands. However, he didn't want him to die. Letting him live would be more painful than death. However, shortly after, Qing Mang's face changed. He grimaced and paled. He found that he couldn't move. A terrifying aura had locked him, making him stand stiffly at his spot. "No!" Qing Mang broke out in cold sweat. How could he not know that this was the doing of the young man in front of him? At this moment, Qing Mang finally knew how terrifying the young man in front of him was. If he had known that this person was so powerful, he wouldn't have come here to seek death even if he had to kill himself. Bang! Unfortunately, Qing Mang didn't have the chance to regret. Zhuowen's right fist hit Qing Mang's head like a meteor. At that moment, the power of the Pangu's sacred body poured into Qing Mang's head. Qing Mang's head exploded like a watermelon. The power was too terrifying. Qing Mang's god soul didn't even have time to escape before it was torn into pieces. He couldn't be more dead. Qing Mang's corpse fell heavily to the ground, emitting a dull thud. The entire restaurant fell into a lifeless silence. None of the foreign races had expected that Qing Mang, who had just said that she would kill Zhuowen, would stand there motionlessly and be struck in the head by Zhuowen, dying just like that. What's wrong with Qing Mang? Why did he stand there and let Zhuowen hit him? Is there something wrong with his head? I think it's strange, too. Did Qing Mang lose her mind or something? He didn't even dodge and let Zhuowen attack him directly. Is he courting death? The restaurant was in an uproar. Most of the outsiders didn't know what was going on. Only a few of them understood. You're really bold. You killed my guest in my restaurant, and you want to leave like this? It's not that easy. The moment Zhuowen stepped out of the restaurant, the owner of the restaurant snorted and flew out. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched the back of Zhuowen's head. Zhuowen stopped in his tracks, but he didn't turn around. Instead, a sword light suddenly shot out from his waist, bringing along a long rainbow. Chapter 3252. Silent battle, phoenix boom. The door of the restaurant was smashed into pieces. The signboard above the door shook violently and fell from above. The restaurant was in chaos. Many of the foreign races retreated into the depths of the restaurant and looked at the shopkeeper's corpse that was nailed to the door in fear. They found that the shopkeeper's chest was pierced with a blood sword that was as bright as a drop of blood. The shopkeeper had completely lost his breath. Zhuowen did not stop and continued to walk toward the weeping blood platform. The blood celestial sword swept out and returned to Zhuowen's macro world. Solemn expressions surfaced in the eyes of the numerous foreign race individuals. They finally understood that Zhuowen did not manage to kill Qingmang by luck. Neither was it because Qingmang was distracted, allowing him to launch a sneak attack. It was that Zhuowen was truly talented and had the battle strength of a master. He was an extremely powerful expert. Zhuowen naturally knew what the shopkeeper of the restaurant wanted. He wanted to use this as an excuse to keep him and show off in front of Feng Bumming. He also knew that it was too strange for him to kill Qingmang. Many people in the restaurant thought that he was lucky to have made a move when Qingmang was distracted and finally killed Qingmang. Now that he had used the blood celestial sword to kill the shopkeeper of the restaurant in front of everyone, he knew that those annoying flies in the restaurant would truly recognize his powerful strength. The Phoenix People's steel cavalry stood on both sides and stared coldly at Zhuowen. A silent killing intent surged out from the Phoenix People's steel cavalry and was directed at Zhuowen. Zhuowen turned a blind eye to the steel cavalry's killing intent. Instead, he stomped his right foot, and an even more terrifying killing intent burst out from his body. In an instant, with Zhuowen as the center, the terrifying killing intent swept out and formed a killing intent storm. The expressions of the steel cavalry on both sides changed slightly. The moment they came into contact with the killing intent storm, they retreated with pale faces and spat out mouthfuls of blood. They were extremely embarrassed. Zhuowen did not care about the Phoenix People's steel cavalry at all. Instead, he took a step and landed on the weeping blood platform as if he had teleported. He stood steadily in front of Feng Bumming. Feng Bumming narrowed his eyes and looked at Zhuowen seriously. He knew that he had underestimated Zhuowen previously. From the strength that Zhuowen had shown just now, he knew that this person should have the strength of a master in the early stage of a master. But that was all. Feng Bumming was confident that he could get rid of Zhuowen in a short time. After all, Zhuowen was only clan. Feng Bumming was of the noble bloodline of the Phoenix People. Zhuowen, and he was of the noble bloodline studio of the Phoenix People. His bloodline was of the Phoenix People. Feng Bumming raised his chin slightly and looked at Zhuowen. He said proudly, "I've heard about you from Elfu. Your strength is not bad, but if you want to fight with me, it's still not enough. Now, I'll give you a chance. Pledge your allegiance to the Phoenix People and hand over your spirit ring. I'll consider letting you be the guest of the Phoenix People. This is your highest honor. You have no reason to reject it." Zhuowen sneered and said, "With just you? That's right, the elf you mentioned. She's already my woman. When we were on the Weeping Blood platform, I gave Elfu 3 Tai Chi energy gathering pills as a token of love. Many people saw it at that time. Please call me woman in the future. Don't call me Elfu. Please call me Miss Elfu. You don't have the right to call me Elfu." Feng Bumming was stunned for a moment before he flew into a rage. He looked coldly at the pale-faced elf below the stage and noticed that the latter's expression was strange. He knew that Zhuowen's words were not groundless. "Bumming, this Zhuowen is simply spouting nonsense. He's slandering me. I've never admitted that I'm his woman, and I've never accepted any Tai Chi energy gathering pills from him." Elfu hurriedly explained. Unfortunately, Fong Bumming stopped Elfu and said coldly, Elfu, you don't have to explain. I know what I'm doing. Elfu's pretty face turned pale. She saw anger and indifference in Fong Bumming's eyes. She knew that Fong Bumming believed Zhuowen's words. This made Yuefu extremely nervous. Zhuowen, of all the things you shouldn't have done, you shouldn't have touched my woman. Do you know what the consequences of touching my woman are? As he spoke, Fong Bumming made a grabbing motion with his right hand. A blood-red flame condensed in his palm and finally turned into a long spear burning with blood-red flames. Back then, a genius from the Sacred Martin clan, Yuan Yi, looked at Elfu too much in front of me. I gouged out his eyes, destroyed his cultivation, and threw him into the wilderness to fend for himself. A deacon from Phoenix Blood City, Xangwu, used his hand to touch Elfu. His limbs were crippled, and he was better off dead. A proud and arrogant genius of the Bai Shi clan once used words to flirt with Erfu. His head was twisted off by me. And now, you're even more insatiable than the three of them. Your fate will be worse than death. At this point, Fong Bumming suddenly stomped on the ground in front of him. A terrifying killing intent accompanied by a blazing wave of air suddenly exploded on the blood-weeping platform. The blood-red flames burned more and more fiercely, spreading in all directions with extreme speed. In an instant, the entire blood-weeping platform was engulfed in blood-red flames, as if it was a tragic enchantment. The moment the surrounding foreign races saw the terrifying blood-red flames around the blood-weeping platform, their pupils shrank. They were all dumbfounded and revealed looks of shock. So powerful! Is this Fong Bumming's true strength? This power is probably beyond the initial stage of the Master of Heaven Ascension. No wonder he's the most powerful genius of the Phoenix people. He's so terrifying. I heard that he's only just become a Master of Heaven Ascension, but he already has such terrifying combat strength. We're far inferior. That Zhuowen is dead meat. Fong Bumming is so powerful. How can this Zhuowen be a match for him? The surrounding foreign races discussed animatedly. They could feel the terrifying aura from Zhuowen's body and did not think highly of him at all. Elder Hong, who was standing below the platform, had his hands behind his back. The corners of his mouth curled into a smile as he silently looked at the blood-weeping platform. He was very satisfied with Fong Bumming. He had just become a Master of Heaven Ascension, but he already had such a terrifying aura. Elder Hong knew that Fong Bumming would definitely have a place in the Sorcerer's Song Conference. He would compete with the top geniuses of the other top 10 tribes for the quota to enter the ancestral sorcerer's magical pond. As for Zhuowen, Elder Hong completely ignored him. He knew that Fong Bumming would definitely win this battle. In his eyes, Zhuowen had become a stepping stone for Fong Bumming. Bang! The moment Fong Bumming's aura reached its peak, he took another step forward. A terrifying power spread out, and countless cracks appeared on the blood-weeping platform. Don't worry, I won't kill you directly. Instead, I'll cripple you and bring you back for torture. Fong Bumming's lips curled into a cruel smile. He took a third step, and his figure merged into the blood-red flames, disappearing from the spot. When he reappeared, he was already above Zhuowen's head. The long spear in his hand spun violently, and the tip of the spear rolled up a terrifying flame. He pointed it directly at Zhuowen's Tianling acupoint. Zhuowen's gaze was solemn. Fong Bumming was indeed a genius. Even he was a little moved by his combat power. Unfortunately, Fong Bumming was facing a freak who was even more monstrous than him. Whoosh! A sword radiance that carried the power of thunder and fire swept out and slashed the blood-red fire spear. The powerful force caused Fong Bumming to groan, and he could not help but start to retreat. At the same time, two sword radiances from his right hand attacked Feng Buming from the front and back. Feng Buming's body spun, and his reaction was very fast. He blocked the two sword radiances that suddenly appeared. The moment he blocked the two sword radiances, Zhuowen appeared behind Feng Buming, as if he had teleported. He fiercely punched Feng Buming's right eye. Feng Buming's mind was completely focused on the sword radiance that suddenly appeared, and he did not guard against Zhuowen at all. When he reacted, Zhuowen's fist was already very close, and it fiercely smashed into his right eye. Feng Buming cried out in pain and fell to the ground from midair. He was in an extremely sorry state. Chapter 32:53. Overwhelming abuse. The entire place fell into silence. The battle just now happened too quickly, like a flash of lightning. In the blink of an eye, Feng Buming was knocked down by Zhuowen's punch, and his right eye was swollen like a panda's eye. Elder Hong frowned slightly. Zhuowen's strength was somewhat beyond his expectations. He had actually made Feng Buming suffer a great loss in just one exchange. However, Elder Hong was not worried because he knew Feng Buming's strength the best. Just now, Feng Buming had only used 50% of his strength. If Feng Buming had used his full strength and displayed the divine technique of the phoenix, even he might not have been able to take Feng Buming down easily. On the contrary, Yuefu, who was standing beside Elder Hong, looked a little nervous. Zhuowen's strength was also beyond her expectations. She was a little worried that Zhuowen would not be a match for Feng Buming. Zhuowen landed on the blood-weeping platform. The three divine swords, Thunderfire Sword, Blood Immortal Sword, and Death Sacrifice Sword, floated around his body in a ring shape, forming a sword array. Feng Buming, the #1 heaven's pride of the Phoenix people, you don't seem to live up to your name. Zhuowen looked directly at Feng Buming with a contemptuous expression. Feng Buming was furious. Zhuowen dared to look at him with contempt. What right did he have? Zhuowen, you've angered me. I underestimated you just now, but from now on, you'll have to accept my anger. I'll use all my strength to kill you on the blood-weeping platform. Feng Buming had already decided not to let Zhuowen live. He was not in the mood to torture Zhuowen. Zhuowen had embarrassed him just now. This was a serious blow to his dignity. How could he endure such humiliation? As for this sort of humiliation, only Zhuowen's blood would be able to wash away the humiliation he had suffered. After Feng Buming finished speaking, Zhuowen could clearly feel that the temperature and power of the blood flames around the blood-weeping platform had reached an unprecedented level of terror. In the blink of an eye, the crimson flames transformed into crimson phoenixes one after another. A total of 9 blood-colored phoenixes soared into the sky and eventually circled around Feng Buming. Under the support of the 9 blood-colored phoenixes, Feng Buming's aura skyrocketed rapidly, reaching an extremely terrifying level in an instant. To be able to force me to use the 9th level of the Divine Phoenix Tome, you're pretty good. Today, you will die a worthy death. After Feng Buming finished speaking, he had already disappeared, as if he had evaporated into thin air. So fast. Zhuowen narrowed his eyes. He knew that Feng Buming did not really disappear, but at that moment, he moved at such a high speed that he could not see Feng Buming's figure clearly. Bang, bang, bang. In an instant, the sound of metal clashing rang out around Zhuowen. The 3 divine swords surrounding him actually burst into sparks. Among them, the sacrificial death sword and the blood deity sword were the weakest. The moment they collided, they were sent flying. However, the aura of the Thunderfire Sword was the strongest, and it managed to block Feng Buming's attack. However, Xiaohe was having a hard time blocking it. Although it relied on the Xianyang Divine Stone to raise its level to the middle stage of the ascending heaven level, it was after all just a divine weapon. Although its combat power was not weak, there was still a certain gap between it and a true middle stage ascending heaven master. After Feng Bumming displayed the 9th level of the Divine Phoenix Tome, his speed had reached an extremely terrifying level. Even Xiao He was having a hard time blocking it. Moreover, Zhuowen's eyes were very sharp. He could see that in less than 50 rounds, the defense of the Thunderfire Sword would definitely be broken by Feng Bumming. Zhuowen stomped his right foot on the ground and displayed the divine powers of Destiny Space-Time Kill. A long purple river swept out from the void behind him and swept toward Feng Bumming. However, what surprised Zhuowen was that the purple river did not catch up with Feng Bumming. Feng Bumming easily dodged the purple river. Bang! A blood-colored flame swept over, filled with terrifying spear intent, and swept across the Thunderfire Sword. Xiao He's cursing stopped, and with a muffled groan, he was swept away by the spear. Die! Feng Bumming's eyes were ferocious. With a sudden twist of his hand, the blood-colored spear brought about a surge of blood-colored sparks and rushed into Zhuowen's chest. What made Feng Bumming ecstatic was that Zhuowen seemed to be stunned. His spear directly pierced through Zhuowen's chest. However, he quickly realized that something was wrong. The power of his blood spear was extremely terrifying. After it pierced through the flesh, the powerful blood flames would definitely burn the other party into blood-colored ashes. However, other than the wound on Zhuowen's chest, his entire body was not burned by the blood flames. Moreover, this Zhuowen was grinning at him. Was he teasing him? What was going on? Zhuowen naturally let Feng Bumming's spear pierce him on purpose. With his current physical strength, it was not a problem for him to take Feng Bumming's spear head-on. The main reason was that Feng Bumming's speed was too fast, and he could not keep up. He could only use this trick of self-injury. At the moment when Feng Bumming was distracted, Zhuowen's right hand suddenly turned into a claw and grabbed Feng Bumming's neck. His left hand formed a fist and mercilessly smashed towards Feng Bumming's face. Feng Bumming burst out with all his strength, trying to break free from Zhuowen. However, to his horror, a mysterious force emerged from Zhuowen's body and suppressed him. Even the blood in his body seemed to have dimmed, and he was unable to break free from Zhuowen's restraint. While Feng Bumming was still in shock over this matter, Zhuowen's fist had already arrived. Immediately after, Zhuowen's fists fell like raindrops, landing on Feng Bumming's face, causing him to scream in pain. All the foreign races below the arena were stunned. Just now, when Feng Bumming burst out the power of the 9th level of the divine techniques of the Phoenix, the power that erupted was still vivid in their minds. Not long after, Feng Bumming was being suppressed and beaten up by Zhuowen. Moreover, he was being beaten up ruthlessly. This scene was too strange, and they could not bear to look at it directly. At this moment, the smile on Elder Hong's face completely froze. Bastard, I must kill you today. Feng Bumming seemed to have gone crazy, and the 9 blood phoenixes around him suddenly cried out. Immediately, a powerful force rushed over like a wave, and Zhuowen was involuntarily pushed back by more than 10 steps. When he came back to his senses, he realized that a 10th blood phoenix had appeared around Feng Bumming, adding a powerful force to Feng Bumming. However, when Zhuowen's gaze fell on Feng Bumming's face, he could not help but laugh. Feng Bumming's handsome face was completely swollen at this moment, which was the result of being beaten up by Zhuowen. Below the crying blood stage, the surrounding foreign races saw Feng Bumming's appearance and recalled his previous appearance, and many of them could not help but laugh. Feng Bumming was flustered and exasperated, and the laughter below the stage was like a needle that pierced into his heart, making him feel even more humiliated. You forced me to use the 10th level of the divine techniques of the Phoenix, and today you will pay a painful price. I want you to regret being born in this world. Feng Bumming's roar had just finished when his figure disappeared from the spot like a ghost. At this moment, Fong Bumming's speed was even faster than before, and the surrounding foreign races could not even catch a glimpse of Fong Bumming's figure. There was an uproar below the stage. Fong Bumming's speed was too abnormal, and many of the foreign races thought that Zhuowen's time of death had come. Zhuowen was very calm, and the moment Fong Bumming disappeared, he used his remarkable power, the Eye of the Torch Dragon. In an instant, the surrounding vision became clear, and even the trajectory of Fong Bumming's movement was clear in his eyes. Poof! Zhuowen suddenly pulled out the blood fire spear that had pierced through his chest, and then he stomped on the ground with his right foot, and the powerful force shook the ground violently. Then Zhuowen quickly turned around, and the blood fire spear in his hand stabbed behind him. Poof! The sound of the spear piercing into flesh was heard, and then the sound of blood dripping onto the ground converged together. At this moment, the crying blood stage seemed so crisp and strange. In front of Zhuowen, Fong Bumming stopped in front of Zhuowen as if time had stopped. His neck was pierced by the spear, and blood poured out like a flood from a dam. Fong Bumming stared at Zhuowen, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. How was this possible? Chapter 3254. Double the crime. Zhuowen did not care about Fong Bumming's shock. His right hand tightly gripped the end of the blood-colored fire spear, and his left hand twisted violently, hitting the fire spear. Terrifying energy ripples exploded from the blood-colored fire spear, and then the entire blood-colored fire spear exploded. The vast and powerful energy quickly spread in all directions. Fong Bumming's eyes were wide open. His neck had been pierced by the blood-colored fire spear, and now the energy of the blood-colored fire spear had exploded. He was the first to bear the brunt of this energy. Puchi! Fong Bumming's neck exploded, and a bloody mist spread in all directions. Fong Bumming screamed. His neck exploded, and his head separated from his body. Blood spurted out like a water column, and he looked extremely miserable. However, Fong Bumming's movements were very fast. After his neck exploded, a golden light burst out from between his eyebrows, and then Fong Bumming fled in a panic in the form of a small person. It was Fong Bumming's divine soul. Zhuowen had long been prepared for this move of Fong Bumming's. He pointed with his right hand, and the Thunderfire sword whizzed out, wrapped in terrifying Thunderfire energy, and rushed straight toward Fong Bumming's divine soul. Fong Bumming naturally saw the Thunderfire sword rushing toward him, especially when he felt the terrifying pressure emanating from the Thunderfire sword. His eyes were wide open, and he felt the threat of death. No, Fong Bumming struggled desperately, trying to escape from the Thunderfire sword, but he realized in despair that the chi of the Thunderfire sword had completely locked onto him, and he could not escape from such a terrifying and powerful chi. Hee, little darling, don't struggle anymore. Just stay there obediently and let this dragon lord take care of you. Xiao He cackled, and his laughter was extremely wretched. It was as if he had been single for many years and had seen a peerless beauty for the first time. He was extremely smug. Bang! However, just as the Thunderfire sword was about to catch up with Fong Bumming and kill him with one strike, an extremely terrifying energy burst out, and then a palm slapped hard on the Thunderfire sword. F*CK, which bastard beat your Grandpa Long to death? Xiao He obviously did not notice the sudden appearance of the palm, nor did she expect the palm to be so powerful. She was sent flying as she cursed the 18 generations of the palm's owner's ancestors. Zhuowen raised his head and noticed that the person standing in front of Fong Bumming's soul was the Phoenix people's Elder Hong. At this moment, Elder Hong's complexion was very unsightly. The expression on his face was that of forcefully suppressing his anger. Xiao He's mouth was really too cheap. She scolded him nonstop like a cannonball. Elder Hong's face turned black from her scolding. If it were not for the fact that Elder Hong wanted to protect Feng Buming's spirit, he would have rushed up to give this talkative spirit a good beating. It was simply too despicable, and he could not stand it any longer. Now that you're not talking, you must be afraid of your Grandpa Long. Since you're afraid, why don't you get your ass over here and kowtow to your Grandpa Long and apologize? Serve me tea and water, and kneel down to beg for mercy. Xiao He was very smug. Seeing that Elder Hong did not move, this fellow became more and more insatiable. He directly wanted Elder Hong to get his ass over here and apologize like a grandson. This made Elder Hong so angry that his face turned green and white. Xiao He, come back, Zhuowen said. Xiao He glanced at Zhuowen and hesitated for a moment. Then she said ruthlessly to Elder Hong, "Old bastard, today I will give face to Zhuowen and spare your worthless life. You should thank Zhuowen for calling me back. Otherwise, today I would have stripped you of all your fur and let you die in an undignified manner." After Xiao He finished speaking, she turned into a ray of light and returned to Zhuowen's side. Zhuowen stood on the blood-sobbing platform and looked at Elder Hong, who was protecting Feng Buming's spiritual soul. He said sarcastically, "Elder Hong, what do you mean by this? I remember the rules of the blood-sobbing platform. As long as one is on the blood-sobbing platform, outsiders are not allowed to interfere until one side wins and loses." Elder Hong's eyes flashed. He took out a purple soul cultivation pot from his spiritual ring and carefully put Feng Buming's spiritual soul into it. Then he stared coldly at Zhuowen. Zhuowen did not stop Elder Hong. Instead, he looked coldly at Elder Hong. The many foreign clan members around the blood-sobbing platform also recovered from their daze. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. They originally thought that Feng Buming would have a fierce battle with Zhuowen after using the 10th level of the divine techniques of the Phoenix. However, Zhuowen only used one move to see through Feng Buming's movement technique. With a spurt of blood, he killed him. If Elder Hong had not intervened, Feng Buming's spiritual soul would have been destroyed, and he would have died completely. Zhuowen, you have indeed won this battle. However, your sins cannot be reduced because of this. You killed the Phoenix Blood City's law enforcement team and the 3 great commanders of the Phoenix Blood City. You even trespassed into the Sacred Marten clan and killed the clan leader of the Sacred Marten clan, Jing Kai. Now, you have seriously injured the heaven's pride of the Phoenix people. You know your sins? Elder Hong put his hands behind his back and stared at Zhuowen with bright eyes. The murderous intent in his eyes grew stronger and stronger. The aura on his body continued to rise and crush Zhuowen. As soon as Elder Hong said this, many foreign clan members around the blood-sobbing platform looked at him with disdain. They also knew that Elder Hong was going back on his words. One must know that Feng Buming had previously said that as long as Zhuowen could defeat him on the blood-sobbing platform, he would not pursue the matter. Now that Zhuowen had defeated Feng Buming, not only did Elder Hong stop Zhuowen, but he also wanted to punish Zhuowen for his crimes. This was simply too much. However, most of the foreign races were already used to the domineering behavior of the Phoenix clan, so they didn't feel much about it. At most, they just showed pity for Zhuowen. Hee. What are the rules that you set in the Phoenix Blood City? The first time the young clan leader of the Fire Elephant clan was tied, you have already gone back on your words. Today, you Phoenix people, Feng Buming, want to go back on your words in front of me again. Zhuowen's mouth was full of a sneer. He stomped his right foot, and a terrifying power quickly spread from the bottom of his foot. The blood-weeping platform beneath his feet was rapidly expanding and disintegrating into countless fine powder. What's the use of setting up this blood-sobbing platform in Phoenix Blood City? Why don't you just destroy it and end it once and for all? Zhuowen stood in the middle of the ruins of the blood-sobbing platform. His voice was loud and clear like a great bell that spread throughout the entire Phoenix Blood City. Instantly, the foreign clan members scattered around the Phoenix Blood City heard this loud and clear voice and gathered in this direction. Elder Hong's gaze was very cold. He floated in the air and looked down at Zhuowen from above. He only said indifferently, "Destroying the blood-sobbing platform is an additional crime. Zhuowen, you have committed a grave sin today. You should atone for your crimes with your death." "You want Zhuowen to die to atone for his crimes? Who do you think you are, old bastard? Don't think that just because you are some Phoenix people, you are high and mighty. In this Dragon Lord's eyes, you are just an old fart. You are no different from those turkeys. What Phoenix people?" Xiao He sat on the sword hilt and said disdainfully. Elder Hong's gaze was cold as he stared coldly at Xiao He, who was on the Thunder Fire Sword. He coldly snorted and said, "In Phoenix Blood City, the Phoenix people are the rules. I am an elder of the Phoenix people. Now, my words are the rules. Since you two foreign clans didn't follow the rules of Phoenix Blood City, then you should receive the corresponding punishment. Today, you will stay here." Chapter 3255. Soul Nourishing Pot Bang Bang Bang. Old Hong unleashed all of his aura. In an instant, a terrifying heat wave spread out from the ruins of the blood-weeping platform. The outsiders surrounding the blood-weeping platform all let out muffled groans as they retreated, looking at Elder Hong in shock. There were even some who were directly injured by the heat wave produced by the aura and spat out blood. He's actually at the middle stage of the heaven-piercing Master Realm. Wasn't Old Hong of the Phoenix people rumored to be at the early stage of the heaven-piercing Master Realm? What's going on? He must have broken through, as expected of the Phoenix people. His bloodline power is so strong. Old Hong shouldn't have broken through for long, but his aura is far stronger than that of an ordinary middle-stage heaven-piercing master. Yuefu, who had been standing not too far away from the platform, was now far away. Her beautiful eyes flashed. After Old Hong unleashed such a terrifying aura, the uneasiness in her eyes was gradually suppressed. In her opinion, with Old Hong's powerful cultivation and aura, he should be able to completely eliminate Zhuowen. But as she looked at Zhuowen, her gaze became more and more complicated. It could be said that she had seen Zhuowen's entire journey. She had watched as Zhuowen defeated anyone she favored. When Yuefu looked at the figure standing upright like a spear, an indescribable feeling appeared in her mind. She had a feeling that this kid might once again exceed her expectations in this battle. What am I thinking? Old Hong is a middle-stage heaven-piercing master, and he has the powerful Phoenix bloodline. He's so strong that he can eliminate Zhuowen. Yuefu shook her head, throwing away such strange thoughts and laughing at herself. How could Old Hong not be a match for Zhuowen? She was thinking too much. Old Hong stood high above. As he listened to the exclamations around him, a trace of self-satisfaction appeared in his eyes. He had just broken through to the middle stage of the heaven-piercing Master Realm and had long wanted to show off. He wanted to let others know that he, Old Hong, had broken through and his strength had risen to another level. And Zhuowen was the stepping stone for him to display his new strength. "Zhuowen, you've seen my strength. Just obediently give up and let yourself be captured. Otherwise, you'll die a very painful death. It won't be easy." Old Hong said indifferently, "Hee idiot." Zhuowen didn't intend to talk nonsense with Old Hong. He stomped his right foot, and the three divine swords transformed into three rainbow-colored lights that shot explosively towards Old Hong. "Humph, you're courting death." Old Hong snorted coldly. His right foot stepped into the air, and the surrounding aura became even more terrifying, forming a storm with a terrifying tearing force. Bang, bang, bang. Elder Hong quickly threw out 3 punches. The sacrificial death sword and the blood immortal sword were sent flying. Only the thunder fire sword barely blocked Elder Hong's attack. This old bastard doesn't look like much, but I didn't expect him to be so strong. I've really underestimated this old fart. Xiao, he shouted in surprise. Old Hong's eyes were cold as he suddenly shouted. Terrifying flames burst out from his body. His strength suddenly increased by several times. Blackie let out a strange cry as he was blasted back repeatedly by Elder Hong's punch. Zhuowen immediately put the sacrificial death sword and the blood immortal sword into the macro world the moment they were forced back. The sacrificial death sword and the blood immortal sword were only at the peak of the creation level. There was a huge gap between them and Old Hong. The punch just now had almost smashed them. Naturally, Zhuowen wouldn't let these 2 divine swords fight again. After Old Hong forced the Thunderfire sword back, he took a step forward and threw a punch at Zhuowen's face. His eyes were full of terrifying killing intent. Zhuowen's eyes were calm. The purple river floated from the void and surrounded him. His body flickered in the air like a ghost and dodged Old Hong's attack. Zhuowen directly activated the torch dragon's eyes. The moment he passed by Elder Hong, he instantly caught Elder Hong's flaw and punched him mercilessly. He didn't hold back in this punch. He broke out all the power of the Pangu's sacred body and hit Old Hong's waist and abdomen. But soon, Zhuowen found that something was wrong because he saw a strange smile on Old Hong's face. Boom! Zhuowen was shocked to find that Old Hong, who had passed by him, suddenly exploded. Countless waves of fire, like the bloody mouth of a giant python, rushed toward Zhuowen to devour him. All of this happened so suddenly that Zhuowen was directly engulfed by the waves of fire and disappeared. Hundreds of meters away from the waves of fire, an insignificant spark flickered. Immediately, the spark exploded, and a figure emerged from it. This figure was Old Hong. This was Old Hong's unique talent, called the Fire Explosion Substitute. He could use the fire energy that was compressed in his body to form a substitute that looked exactly like him, while he himself would turn into an insignificant spark. However, the substitute would explode the moment it collided with the enemy. At that time, he would have retreated hundreds of meters away. Old Hong's explosion energy was very strange. It didn't explode outwards. Instead, it repeatedly contracted and expanded, switching back and forth between these 2 states. Old Hong stared coldly at the exploding energy mass. His face was slightly pale, and his aura was much weaker than before. This was his desperate move. Its power was so great that it could kill an ordinary middle-stage Master of Heaven. No matter how strong Zhuowen was, could he be stronger than a middle-stage Master of Heaven? He believed that Zhuowen would die without a doubt under this attack. But soon, Old Hong found that something was wrong. He found that the explosion energy floating in the air, which was repeatedly expanding and contracting, was gradually overflowing with a pitch-black mist. This pitch-black mist broke through the explosion energy and directly enveloped it. Then, Old Hong found that the explosion energy was constantly being compressed and becoming smaller. The destructive aura was also gradually weakening. What the hell is going on? Old Hong frowned and had an ominous feeling. Rumble! Suddenly, a muffled sound came from the explosion energy mass. Then, 4 black figures drilled out. These 4 black figures were too fast. By the time Old Hong reacted, they were already in front of him. Only then did he see clearly that these 4 black figures were actually 4 ferocious evil spirits. What terrified Old Hong even more was that the aura of these 4 evil spirits was so vast that it wasn't any weaker than his. In fact, one of them was even stronger than him. In other words, The 4 wraiths that had appeared out of nowhere were all mid-stage Heavenspan lords. How is this possible? Old Hong was dumbfounded, but at this moment, the 4 evil spirits' attack had already arrived. He didn't have the slightest time to think. The 4 evil spirits' attack was too terrifying. Everywhere it passed, space collapsed, time stopped, and laws shattered. Old Hong erupted with all his strength. The instant he blocked, his face flushed red. He spat out a mouthful of blood and crashed to the ground in a sorry state. At the same time, a terrifying killing intent locked onto him. Before Old Hong could react, a blood-red light cut through the air and drilled into his glabella. Blood spurted out from between Old Hong's eyebrows. Old Hong screamed as his sea of consciousness shattered. His divine soul was nearly torn apart. "Ah, Zhuowen, the Phoenix people won't let you go." Old Hong screamed miserably. He waved his right hand, took out the soul-cultivating pot, and poured all the remaining energy into it. The soul-cultivating pot emitted a dazzling light, broke through the air, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Chapter 32:56. Will you give me face? Zhuowen frowned as he watched the soul-cultivating pot tear through the air. He had wanted to chase after it, but the soul-cultivating pot was simply too fast. In the blink of an eye, it had disappeared from his sight. Since he could not catch up, Zhuowen gave up on chasing after the soul-cultivating pot. Instead, he waved his sleeve and retrieved the Ho Yi's godly arrow that was nailed between Elder Hong's eyebrows. At the same time, the 4 evil spirits came to Zhuowen's side. They lowered their heads submissively, and there was not the slightest hint of disobedience in their eyes. Zhuowen was extremely satisfied. The 4 evil spirits were all at the mid-sky reaching master level. With his current strength, it would be very difficult for him to tame them. Therefore, he was very grateful that the Black King had helped him tame the 4 evil spirits. After all, the 4 evil spirits had been of great help to him. Zhuowen opened the second layer of the Yama's ghosts diagram that hovered above his head. A black fog spread out, sweeping up all the demons and monsters. Soon after, all of them were sucked into the Yama's ghosts diagram. The Yama's demons diagram closed, and Zhuowen put it and the Ho Yi's godly arrow into his spirit ring. He was not surprised that he could get rid of Elder Hong so quickly. After all, he had used both Ho Yi's godly arrow and the Yama's ghosts diagram, and every single one of the monsters in the second level of the Yama's ghosts diagram was a terrifying mid-level Empyrean Lord, and not just any ordinary mid-level Empyrean Lord. If he could not get rid of Elder Hong, who had just reached the mid-sky reaching master level, then he would be too useless. After Zhuowen completed this series of actions, the many foreign races spectating around the blood-weeping platform were dumbfounded. They had yet to recover from the unrealistic reality of Elder Hong's death. Hiss! When the foreign races below the platform recovered from this shocking reality, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. They finally reacted. They realized that everything that had happened before their eyes was real. In other words, Elder Hong had really fallen. Yuel's face was pale, her delicate body trembling, but she did not lose her composure. The moment she came back to her senses, Yuelfu waved her hand and summoned a flying divine artifact. She stepped onto it, turned into a stream of light, and disappeared on the spot. Unfortunately, Zhuowen was faster than her. The Thunderfire sword lashed out and slashed at the flying divine artifact beneath Janelf's feet. Intense sword light flashed as the flying divine artifact was destroyed. Yuelf groaned as she fell from the sky and landed on the ground in a sorry state. "Miss Wolf, where are you going?" Zhuowen's cold voice sounded. His eyes flashing with cold light landed not far away from Yuefu. As for the other races near where Yule had landed, they all consciously distanced themselves from her. Zhuowen was too terrifying. He was someone who dared to kill the Phoenix people, Feng Bumming and Elder Hong. They could not afford to offend him. However, the other races also knew that Zhuowen had killed Elder Hong of the Phoenix people. This would thoroughly enrage the Phoenix people. Soon, the Phoenix people would send a large number of troops to Phoenix Blood City. Zhuowen would definitely die. At this moment, Zhuowen was a powerful trapped beast in their eyes. They did not dare to provoke such a lunatic. This guy might do something crazy. Yuel's delicate body trembled slightly. She stood up and forced herself to be calm. Zhuowen, what do you mean by this? Even if you like me, you can't force me to stay. You won't be able to keep my heart if you do this. If you really like me, then you should respect my choice. I'm not feeling well, so I need to return to the Sacred Marten tribe. Zhuowen looked coldly at Yuelv. The latter was about to say something, but she suddenly stopped. Her delicate body trembled even more, and her heart was filled with apprehension. She realized that Zhuowen's gaze was very strange. It no longer had the adoration and passion from before. This made Yuel feel a sense of danger. And you guys, did I say you could leave? Zhuowen did not pay any attention to the frightened Yuefu. Instead, he slowly turned around and looked at the cavalrymen brought by the Phoenix clan. They were about to mount their large horses and leave. Zhuowen, you have already committed a heinous crime by killing the elder of the Phoenix people. If you still want to kill us now, that will be a grave sin. When the time comes, the Phoenix people will not let you off. However, if you let us off now, we will put in a good word for you. This will also be beneficial to you. There is no need to kill us all. The leader of the cavalry standing at the front clasped his fist at Zhuowen. His eyes were filled with fear. You mean that I will definitely be afraid of the Phoenix people? Zhuowen's lips curled into a mocking smile. He really did not care about the Phoenix people. His purpose in entering the primitive heaven domain was to cause havoc among the Phoenix people and rescue Mu Chinshue. Since he was here to shed all pretense of cordiality with the Phoenix people, what was there to be afraid of? The leader of the cavalry was calm and said, even if you are not afraid of the Phoenix people, you have to consider the Devouring clan. The Phoenix people have already investigated your background. You are a member of the Devouring clan. You are not afraid, but it does not mean that the clan behind you is not. Moreover, it is one thing if you are not afraid of the Phoenix people, but it is another matter if you can fight against the Phoenix people alone. I know that you are a smart person and know what to do. Letting us go is definitely the wisest choice. Unfortunately, before the leader of the cavalry could finish his words, a sword light flashed in front of him, and his head flew up. Blood splattered everywhere, and his head fell heavily on the ground. Don't you know how annoying you are? If you want to run, just run. Why do you have to make it sound so dignified? What a boring guy. The thunder fire sword flashed. Xiaohe looked at the leader of the cavalry with disdain and mocked him. Kid, I am not in a good mood with these guys. Can I vent my anger on them? Xiaohe sat on the hilt of his sword and looked at Zhuowen as if he was asking for Zhuowen's opinion. Do as you wish. As long as you don't let them escape Phoenix Blood City, you can do whatever you want. Zhuowen nodded and no longer paid attention to the cavalry. He knew that with Xiaohe's strength, it was more than enough to deal with this cavalry. Zhuowen slowly walked towards Yuefu. The latter watched as Zhuowen came closer and closer. Her face was as pale as snow, and her delicate body trembled even more. She did not know how Zhuowen would treat her. When Zhuowen arrived in front of Yuefu, the cavalry of the Phoenix people began to scream miserably. Zhuowen knew that Xiaohe was venting. He did not care about this. He had never been soft-hearted towards his enemies. Miss Yuefu, I have something to ask you. I wonder if you would do me the honor of coming to the bloodshed tea house with me? To Yuefu's surprise, Zhuowen did not use violence against her, nor did he insult her. Instead, he gracefully invited her to the bloodshed tea house. Chapter 32:57. Phoenix Blood Pool. When Zhuowen arrived at the Green Blood Tea House, Humei, who was in charge of the Green Blood Tea House, hurried forward to greet them. However, Zhuowen could see that Humei was looking at him with eyes full of reverence. He knew that Humei should already know what happened at the Weeping Blood platform. After greeting Humei and asking her to arrange a good room for them, Zhuowen led Yuefu straight to the room. Saiku had already returned to the Green Blood Tea House after Zhuowen won the Weeping Blood platform. Moreover, Zhuowen wasn't worried about Saiku. After all, the latter was a descendant of the Shadow Clan and could imitate the aura of other clans. Even if he died at the Weeping Blood platform, nothing would happen to him. At most, he could just change his identity and slip out of Phoenix Blood City. After returning to the room, Saiku deliberately avoided him. In the large hall, Zhuowen and Yuefu sat opposite each other. Yuefu seemed a little uneasy. Her beautiful eyes flickered, and she didn't dare to look at Zhuowen. Miss Yuefu, you've tried to harm me time and time again. Moreover, you've exposed me time and time again. Logically speaking, I should have killed you with a single slap. Zhuowen's voice was calm, but his words made Yuefu's heart twitch fiercely and her beautiful face turn pale. She wanted to explain, but Zhuowen's cold gaze frightened her to the point she was speechless. If that's the case, why didn't you just kill me before? Why did you want me to follow you back to the Green Blood Tea House? Yuefu said with a self-deprecating smile. She already knew that Zhuowen had always been using her. Back then, he had only pretended to be her suitor. I have some important questions to ask you. If your answers satisfy me, I can consider letting you live. But only this time. If you dare go against me again, then I'll personally kill you. Zhuowen spoke with a gloomy and cold gaze. No, I definitely wouldn't dare. Lord Zhuo, ask away. As long as I know, I will tell you everything. Yuefu immediately became spirited when she saw that Zhuowen was planning to let her go. She couldn't wait to tell him everything she knew. She even changed the way she addressed him to Lord Zhuowen. You claim to be Feng Bumming's woman, so you should have a good relationship with him. You should also know the Phoenix people's situation. Zhuowen said. Yuefu's eyes flashed with light. She nodded. And said, I've been with Feng Bumming for a long time. I've been invited by Feng Bumming many times. I have been invited to meet him many Phoenix people. If Lord Zhuo wants to ask about the Phoenix clan, you've found the right person. Then tell me, other than the 3 clan elders, who else are the main experts of the Phoenix clan? Zhuowen asked. He knew very well that the Phoenix people were, after all, one of the top 10 races. It was impossible for them to only have 3 divine masters. The Phoenix people have more than 10 divine masters. The most representative of them are the 3 divine masters and the 2 divine masters of Xuanhua. Among them, the 2 divine masters of Xuanhua are extremely powerful. It is said that even Grand Elder Mu Yu is extremely wary of them, said Yuefu. Zhuowen's eyes narrowed. He didn't expect the Phoenix people to have so many experts. There were actually more than 10 divine masters of Xuanhua. What he was more concerned about was that the 2 divine masters of Xuanhua that Yuefu mentioned were actually at the same level as the Grand Elder. Zhuowen had met Grand Elder Mu Yu before. Mu Yu had left a deep impression on him when he was in the Star Wars. Although Mu Yu's cultivation was at the middle divine master stage, he was at the peak of the middle divine master stage. He was far stronger than the average middle divine master stage expert. He was also much stronger than the two divine masters who had just reached the middle divine master stage. But now, the two divine masters of Xuanhua that Yuefu mentioned were actually at the same level as Muyu. This was a little tricky. Yuefu's beautiful eyes flickered. She hesitated for a moment before saying, Lord Zhua, the Grand Elder, and the third elder left the primitive heaven realm some time ago. They are no longer with the Phoenix people. Moreover, the two divine masters of the Phoenix people were killed by you. The only true experts left are the two divine masters of Xuanhua. The Grand Elder and the third elder left the Phoenix people? Do you know why they left the primitive heaven realm? Zhuowen asked in surprise. Yuefu shook her head and said, I don't know about this either. I only heard about it from Foam Bumming, but Foam Bumming didn't tell me the specific reason. Zhuowen nodded and sighed softly in his heart. Without the Grand Elder and the third elder among the Phoenix people, the pressure on him when he entered the Phoenix people this time was much less. Other than them, are there no other experts among the Phoenix people? Zhuowen continued to ask. Yuefu said in a low voice, Actually, the Phoenix people have a very mysterious Phoenix master. Her whereabouts are unpredictable. It is said that she is basically not among the Phoenix people. This is because when the Phoenix people were fighting in the north and south, this Phoenix master never appeared. There is an even stronger Phoenix master. Zhuowen frowned slightly. The Phoenix people were really strong. The two divine masters of Xuanhua and the three divine masters were already terrifying enough. Above them, there was an even stronger Phoenix master. This time, he had to be more careful when he entered the Phoenix people. If he provoked the Phoenix master, then the joke would be too big. Yuefu saw that Zhuowen was deep in thought, so she tactfully shut her mouth. After a long time, Zhuowen finally continued to ask, the Phoenix people's second elder, Elder Hong. I remember that he died in the human race's star cannons during the Star Wars. This matter caused a huge sensation in the primitive heaven realm at that time. Why is that second elder still perfectly fine? Zhuowen finally directed his question to the second elder. When he had first met Elder Hong, his heart had been filled with doubts. However, he couldn't ask Elder Hong about this. After all, they were enemies. Elder Hong definitely wouldn't answer him. Yuefu's beautiful eyes looked strange as she said, Lord Zhua, don't you know that there is a Phoenix blood pool among the Phoenix people? Phoenix blood pool? What is that? Zhuowen asked in confusion. The so-called Phoenix blood pool is said to be formed from a drop of blood essence left behind by the Phoenix, the ancestor of the Phoenix people. This Phoenix blood pool has the powerful ability to nourish the soul. Basically, all important figures among the Phoenix people will leave a trace of their soul in the Phoenix blood pool. When one of them unfortunately perishes, the Phoenix clan will extract that strand of soul from the Phoenix blood pool and begin to use the Phoenix blood pool to restore that person's soul. After the soul is restored, the Phoenix people will spend countless precious materials to forge a powerful body for the owner of the soul, allowing their cultivation to recover to the peak in a short period of time. The second elder relied on this method to revive from the Phoenix blood pool. However, the price of using the Phoenix blood pool to restore the soul is too high. Every time the soul is restored, a lot of the Phoenix blood pool's energy will be consumed. And this Phoenix blood pool only has that one pool of water, which is extremely precious. If it isn't an important figure, the Phoenix people generally won't waste the Phoenix blood pool to revive their clansmen. Zhuowen's eyes showed surprise. He didn't expect the Phoenix people to have such a miraculous Phoenix blood pool. And this method was similar to the principle of his doppelganger. His doppelganger had the powerful recovery ability of the Gomangu. As long as there was a trace of soul, with sufficient energy, his soul and body could be restored. Chapter 3258. beat them at their own game, Zhuan, then asked Yuefu a few more questions about the Phoenix people. What surprised him was that Yuefu had a deep understanding of the Phoenix people and gave him satisfactory answers. After asking, Zhuan fell into deep thought, while Yuefu looked at Zhuan worriedly. She was afraid that her answers would provoke Zhuan into killing her. After all, she was now the meat on the chopping block, while Zhuan was the knife. Zhuan raised his head and looked at Yuefu, saying, "Miss Yuefu, you can leave now. But I have to warn you, after leaving Phoenix Blood City, scram back to the Sacred Marten clan. If you have other thoughts, go and inform the Phoenix people, and let me know. Then you can forget about living." Yuefu stood up and hurriedly bowed to Zhuan, her beautiful eyes filled with gratitude. "Master Zhua, after Feng Bumming returns to the Phoenix people, he will definitely inform the two mystical flame protectors about what happened here. When the time comes, the Phoenix people will definitely send troops to encircle and annihilate you. I think it's best for you to leave the Phoenix people's territory now." Yuefu suddenly said. Zhuan waved his hand and said, "You don't have to worry about this. I still have some matters to attend to in Phoenix Blood City, and will need to stay for some time. Moreover, the Phoenix people are quite a distance away from Phoenix Blood City. If the Phoenix Blood City army invades, they won't be able to reach here so quickly." Yuefu's beautiful eyes flickered, and she bid farewell to Zhuan and left the Green Blood Tea House. "Master Zhua, you're letting Yuefu go just like that? That woman is very scheming. Once she leaves Phoenix Blood City, she will definitely sell you out." Saika walked out from another room and looked at Zhuan with a worried expression. Zhuan shook his head slightly and said indifferently, "You're right. After Yuefu leaves Phoenix Blood City, she will immediately spread the news that I might still be in Phoenix Blood City." "Then why did you—" Siko didn't understand. "Because I did it on purpose. I needed to let the Phoenix people know that I, Zhuan, have not left Phoenix Blood City. Let them think that I, Zhuan, am so arrogant, so fearless. Only in this way would the Phoenix people send most of their experts to Phoenix Blood City. Even the two mystical flame protectors guarding the Phoenix people would all come. At that time, the Phoenix people will become empty. Wouldn't it be easier for you to infiltrate the Phoenix people?" Zhuan's voice was flat, but his eyes flashed with wisdom. Saika slapped his forehead and hurriedly gave Zhuan a thumbs up, saying, "Master Zhua, you're really smart. Look at this blockhead of mine. I didn't think of this, really. Now, all we need to do is wait. However, before the Phoenix people come, I will set up the 12 Divine Fiends formation in a 5-kilometer radius around the Green Blood Tea House." Zhuan said. "What? 12 Divine Fiends formation? Master Zhua, I remember that this 12 Divine Fiends formation is a heaven-piercing formation, right? You're saying that you will set up the 12 Divine Fiends formation alone." Siko licked his lips. He felt that what he had just heard was so surreal. Although he knew that Zhuan knew a little about Array Dao, he thought that Zhuan's Array Dao skills were at most at the creation realm. But now, Zhuan actually said that he was going to set up a heaven-piercing formation. Could it be that Zhuan was actually a heaven-piercing formation master? At this thought, Siko's eyes lit up. He knew very well how terrifying a heaven-piercing formation master was in the primitive celestial realm. If Zhuan was really a heaven-piercing formation master, then he would really be rich if he followed Zhuan. Zhuan did not care about Siko's complicated thoughts. Instead, he left the Green Blood Tea House. After informing Humei, he began to set up the 12 Divine Fiends formation around the Green Blood Tea House. After all, the 12 Divine Fiends formation was a heaven-piercing formation. It would take a lot of time and effort to set it up completely, Zhuowen was not sure when the Phoenix people would send an army over. Therefore, he planned to complete the 12 Divine Fiends formation as soon as possible. After Yuefu left Phoenix Blood City, she immediately took out her flying divine weapon and flew into the sky. However, she was not heading towards the Sacred Marten tribe. Instead, she was heading towards the Phoenix people. At the same time, she took out her communication jade talisman and sent the specific situation of Phoenix Blood City, as well as Zhuowen's words, to the 2 Xuanhua guardians. Although she was not familiar with the 2 Xuanhua guardians, she knew how to contact the 2 Xuanhua guardians from Feng Buming's information. At this moment, this contact method came in handy. Among the Phoenix people, in the Phoenix Cry Palace, the 2 Xuanhua guardians paced back and forth with ugly expressions. Soon, Feng Buming staggered out from the depths of the Phoenix Cry Palace. If not for the 2 beautiful maids supporting him, Feng Buming might have fallen to the ground. This body is so weak, Feng Buming said, unhappily. The 2 Xuanhua guardians frowned. Among them, the Black Guardian said in a deep voice, Feng Buming, you want to condense a new body in a short period of time. Naturally, it won't be too good. In the later stage, you can refine this body again until you get used to it. Now, you should tell me what happened to you in Phoenix Blood City. Your soul was thrown into the soul cultivating pot and escaped back to the Phoenix people. And where is Elder Hong now? Feng Buming clenched his fists tightly. If not for the fact that he was powerless now, he would have punched the ground to vent the anger in his heart. Elder Hong should have died. He died in the hands of Zhuowen. Feng Buming roared in a low voice. What? How is this possible? The 2 Xuanhua guardians were shocked. They knew that Feng Buming and Elder Hong had gone to Phoenix Blood City to deal with Zhuowen. In their opinion, Feng Buming and Elder Hong were more than enough to kill Zhuowen. Therefore, they were not worried about them at all. But now, Feng Buming's body had collapsed, and only his soul had escaped. What was even more ridiculous was that Elder Hong had died. This was too unbelievable. Could it be that Zhuowen was really that powerful? Feng Buming, what happened? You are not Zhuowen's match. Tell us about what happened in Phoenix Blood City. Xuanhua Guardian's face was gloomy as he asked Feng Buming. Feng Buming nodded his head and recounted everything that had happened in Phoenix Blood City. After the 2 Xuanhua Guardians heard this, they fell silent. If what Feng Buming said was true, then this Zhuowen was really not simple. This child was at least at the peak of the middle stage of the Tongtian Master realm. He could not be underestimated. 2 guardians, Elder Hong died because of me. We should go to the Phoenix Blood Pool and take out Elder Hong's soul to reconstruct his body, Feng Buming said. He Xian flatly refused and said, Feng Buming, the Phoenix Blood Pool is a consumable item. Every time the soul is revived, the Phoenix Blood Essence energy in it will be reduced by a little. Elder Hong has already used the Phoenix Blood Pool once. He is no longer qualified to use it again. Otherwise, it would be unfair to us. After all, we have never used it once. If we die in the future, we will have to rely on the Phoenix Blood Pool. Feng Buming's eyes widened, but he quickly became dispirited. He Xian was right. The Phoenix Blood Pool could only be used once. Elder Hong had just used it not long ago and wanted to use it again. This was indeed against the rules. Chapter 3259. Preparation and Disguise. Are you sure you want to give your chance to Elder Hong? He Xian looked at Feng Buming in surprise. Yes, Elder Hong died in order to save me. This time, it's because of me, so I'm willing to give my chance to Elder Hong. Feng Buming said in a deep voice. He Xian nodded and said, if that's the case, then Elder Hong will have a chance to revive his soul again. But there's still a long way to go. Now, our first task is to find a way to get rid of Zhuowen, that malignant tumor. At the mention of Zhuowen, Fong Bumming's eyes revealed a venomous look and said, "This kid must be eliminated. Otherwise, there will be endless trouble." At this moment, the communication jade talismans at the waists of Heixian and Shuehua lit up. Both of them were puzzled because the communication jade talisman showed an unfamiliar contact number. "It's Yuefu's number. Guardians, can you see what Yuefu sent?" Fong Bumming said with a calm gaze. Yuefu said that Zhuowen is still in Phoenix Blood City. According to Zhuowen plans to stay in Phoenix Blood City for a while. If this is true, then Zhuowen is too arrogant. Heixian flipped through the contents of the communication jade talisman. His face was terrifyingly gloomy, and his voice was filled with anger. "Humph, he doesn't put us Phoenix people in his eyes at all. Not only did he not escape after killing our Phoenix people, he even plans to stay in Phoenix Blood City. This kid is too arrogant," Shuehua said in an unfriendly tone. "Since Zhuowen is so arrogant, then we'll let him know the strength of our Phoenix people. We'll let him experience despair once. Guardians, Bumming needs your help." Fong Bumming cupped his fists at the two guardians and said in a deep voice. The two guardians naturally knew what Fong Bumming meant. They cupped their fists at Fong Bumming and said in a deep voice, "This matter is a disgrace to the entire Phoenix people. We'll naturally help you, Bumming." "Good. The two of you bring 7 Skirich experts and follow me to Phoenix Blood City. If we don't kill that Zhuowen, where will the face of the Phoenix people go?" Fong Bumming said with killing intent in his eyes. 3 days later, Yuefu arrived at the Phoenix people on a flying divine artifact and was taken to the Phoenix Cry Palace by the Phoenix people. At this moment, outside the Phoenix Cry Palace, Fong Bumming stood with his hands behind his back. The two guardians of Xuanhua stood behind him. Other than that, there were also 7 powerhouses of the Phoenix clan with powerful auras who stood behind him respectfully. The auras of these 7 Phoenix people were too strong, and Yuefu could feel her heart palpitating. She knew that these 7 were most likely sky-piercing experts. "Erfu, come here," Fong Bumming said with a smile. Yuefu obediently approached Fong Bumming. Just as she was about to act coquettishly, Fong Bumming said coldly, "Now I'll ask, and you'll answer. You're not allowed to speak without my permission." Looking at Fong Bumming's cold gaze, Yuela's heart trembled. Her beautiful eyes were filled with grievance, and she could only nod in agreement. "Good. How did you escape from Phoenix Blood City? After that Zhuowen killed Elder Hong, he shouldn't have let you go so easily, right?" Fong Bumming asked. Yuefu's beautiful eyes flickered as she said, "Bumming, you also know that Zhuowen is actually one of my pursuers. I told him that I wanted to return to your side. Although he was unwilling, he didn't want me to be angry, so he let me go in the end." Fong Bumming narrowed his eyes and continued to ask without batting an eyelid, "Then the message you sent earlier said that Zhuowen really intends to stay in Phoenix Blood City for a period of time? If you're lying to me, then don't blame me for not caring about our old friendship." Tears flashed in Yuefu's beautiful eyes, and the grievance on her beautiful face intensified, but she still said, "Bumming, I heard it from Zhuowen with my own ears. If you think that I brought false news, then forget it. I'd better leave this place. Anyway, you don't believe me." Fong Bumming stopped Yuefu, and a smile finally appeared on his face as he said, "Yuefu, how can I not believe you? After all, this is an important matter. If the news is really unreliable, then wouldn't our trip be in vain?" After coaxing Yuefu again, Fong Bumming instructed the 2 Xianhua protectors to set off for Phoenix Blood City. At the same time that Fong Bumming and the others set off, near the Bloodshed Tea House, Zhuowen laid down the last array foundation. He let out a light sigh and muttered to himself, "It's finally set up." It really wasn't easy to set up this 12 divine fiends formation. When Zhuowen re-entered the Bloodshed Tea House, Siko was already waiting for Zhuowen inside. Miss Humei, the experts of the Phoenix people will soon come to Phoenix Blood City. At that time, they will definitely attack the Bloodshed Tea House. You'd better leave the Bloodshed Tea House. Zhuowen took out a spiritual ring and handed it to Humei, saying, "The cultivation resources inside are enough for you to cultivate to the creation realm. You can find a place to cultivate in seclusion. When you're strong enough, you can come out to train." Humei took the spiritual ring and looked inside. Her beautiful eyes widened. The Heavenly Path origin crystals and high-grade divine pills were everywhere. The cultivation resources inside were simply too abundant. This was the first time she had seen something like this. "Miss Humei, you don't have to refuse. This is a token of my sincerity. Moreover, you've helped me a lot. I don't like to owe others favors. If you don't accept it, I won't feel at ease," Zhuowen said solemnly. Humei hesitated for a moment, but in the end, she still accepted Zhuowen's gift. "Brother Zhua, I took advantage of you this time. If we have the chance to meet again in the future, Humei will definitely repay today's kindness." With that, Humei left the Bloodshed Tea House with Hu Ling. After Humei left, the waiters in the Bloodshed Tea House were basically all dismissed by Zhuowen. In fact, after Zhuowen killed Elder Hong and stayed in the Bloodshed Tea House, most of the waiters in the tea house had left. There was no need for Zhuowen to deliberately dismiss them. Now, the Bloodshed Tea House was empty. Apart from Zhuowen and Saiku, there was no one else. With a wave of his sleeve, Zhuowen summoned his human true body. "Brother Saiku, this is my human doppelganger. He looks almost the same as me, but the human aura on him is too obvious. You're from the Shadow Clan and are skilled in concealment. I wonder if you have a way to conceal your human aura." Zhuowen pointed at his human true body and looked at Saiku. Saiku glanced at his human true body in surprise, but he didn't suspect anything. He nodded and said, "I do have a secret technique that can temporarily change your human doppelganger's aura. However, it can only be maintained for 3 days. 3 days is enough," Zhuowen said. Saiku nodded and came in front of his human true body. He formed a seal with both hands. Immediately, a black gas spread out and enveloped his human true body. Chapter 3260. Siege. After the aura of the main body was completely concealed, the main body glanced at the doppelganger and rushed out of the green blood tea house, leaping to the top of the tea house. The main body took out a praying mat and sat on the top of the tea house. His loud voice resounded, "Today, I, Zhuowen, will be the overseer of Phoenix Blood City. In the future, I, Zhuowen, will be the rule. If anyone is dissatisfied, then come to the Green Blood Tea House to find me. I, Zhuowen, will accompany you to the end." When the main body said this, all the foreign races in Phoenix Blood City raised their heads and looked at Zhuowen's figure on the top of the Green Blood Tea House. Their eyes were filled with anger. This Zhuowen was too arrogant. He actually dared to say that he would be the rule in the future. But anger was anger. With Zhuowen's strength, they did not dare to say anything. While all the foreign races in Phoenix Blood City were focused on the main body on the top of the tea house, Zhuowen's doppelganger and Saiku had already quietly left through the back door of the Green Blood Tea House. Through a secret passage, they left Phoenix Blood City. After the main body felt that the doppelganger had left, it no longer attracted hatred and returned to the Green Blood Tea House. The moment Zhuowen's doppelganger and Saiku left Phoenix Blood City, they took out a flying divine tool and flew towards the Phoenix people's camp. However, Saiku was very smart. The route he chose to go to the Phoenix people was not an ordinary one. Instead, it was a more remote and detoured route. The purpose of doing this was naturally to avoid encountering the experts of the Phoenix people. Feng Bumming's group was extremely fast. In 2.5 days, they arrived at Phoenix Blood City. The moment they entered Phoenix Blood City, there were foreign races who immediately complained to them that Zhuowen was too arrogant. Previously, he actually dared to say such bold words on the top of the Green Blood Tea House. This Zhuowen is really arrogant. Does he really think he is a big shot? He actually dares to say that he is the rule of Phoenix Blood City. After the two Black Flame Protectors heard the foreign race's complaint, their eyes were filled with killing intent. In their hearts, they had already sentenced Zhuowen to death. Go. Let's go to the Jasper Blood Tea House. There's been no movement from the Jasper Blood Mulberry. I'm afraid that Zhuowen has already dealt with it. Today, we'll tear down the Jasper Blood Tea House and destroy that Zhuowen. Feng Bumming led the two guardians of Xuanhua and the others straight to the Emerald Blood Tea House. And inside Phoenix Blood City, the foreign races who received the news all followed Feng Bumming and the others. Many of the foreign races were secretly shocked when they saw Feng Bumming's lineup. This time, the Phoenix people were truly enraged. Not only did they send great experts like the Xuanhua Protectors, but they also sent 7 experts who were at the early stage of the sky-piercing realm. Such a lineup could easily kill a mid-Empyrean lord, and even a late Empyrean lord would be in an extremely difficult situation if surrounded by such a lineup. Then Zhuowen is done for. This time, the Phoenix people are serious. That Zhuowen really thinks he's some big shot. Does he think he's so great just because he killed the 3 commanders and 2 clan elders of Phoenix Blood City? This is simply a fool's dream. Now that the real experts of the Phoenix people are here, it's impossible for him to survive. In Phoenix Blood City, many of the foreign races who were unhappy with Zhuowen were gloating when they saw the lineup of the Phoenix people. They wanted to see if Zhuowen would kneel and beg for mercy under such a lineup, or if he would still be unyielding and arrogant to the end. Zhuowen, why aren't you coming out to accept your death? Feng Bumming came to the front of the Jasper Blood Tea House, with the 2 guardians of Xuanhua standing behind him. His eyes were slightly smug as he shouted in a loud voice. Yuefu, on the other hand, stood beside Feng Bumming with a sneer in her beautiful eyes. She naturally believed that Zhuowen would definitely die this time. Feng Bumming, you're just a loser. What right do you have to ask me to come out and accept my death? Zhuowen's leisurely voice came from the Jasper Blood Tea House. Then, the door of the Jasper Blood Tea House opened, and Zhuowen, dressed in white, slowly walked out. Zhuowen looked around and found that other than the Phoenix people experts brought by Feng Bumming, the rest of the foreign races in Phoenix Blood City had surrounded his Jasper Blood Tea House. Zhuowen sneered in his heart. It seemed that these foreign races in Phoenix Blood City were completely on the side of the Phoenix people. This was within Zhuowen's expectations. Although he appeared to be very strong before, he was only one person after all. Compared to the colossus of the Phoenix people, in the eyes of others, he was indeed insignificant. Everyone, as long as you're not a friend of the Phoenix people, leave now and don't interfere in the grudge between me and the Phoenix people, then Zhuowen, will not find trouble with you after this. And I won't hold a grudge against you. Of course, if you insist on being on the side of the Phoenix people and then go against me, I believe you will regret it very soon. Zhuowen slowly opened his mouth. His voice was very calm, but it was filled with coldness and sharpness in the calmness. What a joke. Who do you think you are, Zhuowen? And you still want to find trouble with us after this? How can you say that? Do you still have a chance after this? Now you're going to die, and you're going to die a horrible death. One of the foreign races sneered and ridiculed, causing the surrounding foreign races to laugh loudly and unscrupulously. Feng Bumming looked at Zhuowen mockingly and said, Zhuowen, don't be mistaken. Phoenix Blood City was built by us Phoenix people. Who do you think you are? You still dare to say that you're the rule of Phoenix Blood City. Where did you get the face to say that? After saying that, Fong Bumming clapped his hands and said, "Everyone, if you can help me take down this kid today, the Phoenix people will reward you handsomely. This is my promise to you. Now, attack together with me." After Fong Bumming finished speaking, the foreign races surrounding the Emerald Blood Tea House rushed towards the center of the building like a flood. Among the two Xuanhua Guardians, the Haitian Guardian led 7 experts from the Phoenix people and followed closely behind. The Xuanhua Guardian stood beside Fong Bumming, protecting him at all times. After all, Fong Bumming was the prodigy of the Phoenix people. He was also an important candidate for this Sorcerer Song conference. He could not let anything happen to Fong Bumming again. Zhuowen stood quietly at the entrance of the tea house. He slowly took out an array flag and threw it out. Suddenly, with the Emerald Blood Tea House as the center, a terrifying aura suddenly appeared within a 10-mile radius. This aura was too terrifying. It covered everyone's body and made them feel even more pressured. 12 huge phantoms strode over from 12 different directions at the edge of the Tenli range. The 12 shadows took a step forward and stepped right into the midst of the foreign races. Screams could be heard continuously. At this moment, 30% of the foreign races were trampled to death by the 12 ancestral sorcerer shadows. Even their souls were not spared. What? It's the 12 heavenly deities killing formation. How is this possible? Chapter 32:61. Ancestral Haljua, when stood quietly in front of the Green Blood Tea House. The 12 divine beings killing formation had been activated to the most terrifying level. 12 silhouettes of magi swooshed out like raging dragons. Large groups of non-humankind beings around the tea house let out shrill screams and died one after another. Many foreign tribes knelt down and begged Zhuowen for mercy, promising that they would never go against him again. Zhuowen only laughed coldly, not paying any attention to these foreign races begging for mercy. He had said what he needed to say. Since these foreign tribes did not listen, they would have to pay the price. Haitian, who was leading 7 Phoenix people towards Zhuowen, was stopped by an ancestral sorcerer's shadow. Humph! I didn't expect the 12 divine fiends formation. However, the ancestral sorcerer's shadow you set up is only at the early stage of the Master of Heaven. It can't stop me. Haitian's eyes were cold. His body was surrounded by pitch-black flames. The aura in Haitian's body was like a mountain, exploding and expanding continuously. It was extremely terrifying. Boom! Haitian punched the ancestral sorcerer's shadow. The black flames spread to the ancestral sorcerer's shadow like maggots. The ancestral sorcerer's shadow kept retreating. Its huge body was burned by the black flames and was soon burned into ashes. The smile on the corners of He Xian's mouth seemed to be even more complacent. But soon, he was surprised to discover that the ancestral shaman's silhouette that had been burned to ashes had actually recovered at this moment and flashed towards him once again. At the same time, the other 11 ancestral sorcerer shadows strode over and began to besiege He Xian's team. The other foreign tribes surrounding the tea house were just a mob. Most of them were killed by the 12 ancestral sorcerer shadows. Now, the remaining few were trembling under the terrifying pressure of the formation. They were unable to display any of their battle prowess. He Xian's face was ugly. He was not afraid of the 12 ancestral sorcerer shadows. These ancestral sorcerer shadows were only at the early stage of the Master of Heaven. However, they were very difficult to deal with. After killing them, they would reassemble quickly. It was impossible to destroy them. Boom! The 12 ancestral sorcerer shadows and He Xian's team collided. Terrifying energy ripples spread out like waves. Then, the two sides were engaged in a fierce battle. However, the 12 ancestral sorcerer shadows obviously had the upper hand. The 7 Phoenix people, He Xian's shadow, were each held by 1 ancestral sorcerer shadows. He Xian's shadow was sorcerer shadows. He Xian's shadow and sorcerer shadows could not be He Xian. Shui fire, Xian fire, blood blood, blood blood fire, blood 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 blood. Only by killing him can this 12 overseer divine wraith formation be broken. Blood 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 shadows. Shadow blood blood shadows translation. Blood 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 translation translation. Shadow blood translation. Xuehua Protector hesitated for a while, but in the end, he still followed Feng Buming's order and rushed towards Zhuowen. However, the blood fire was blocked by an energy barrier when it got close to Zhuowen. Heaven Master Defense Formation, Xuehua retreated, his eyes full of shock and uncertainty. He returned to Feng Buming's side and said in a low voice, "Buming, this person should be a divine master of the Heavenly Crossing Formation. I can't break that defensive formation in a short period of time." "What? There's a Heaven Master Defense Formation? This guy, what should we do?" Feng Buming panicked. "Buming, don't worry. We have so many experts on our side. Although we can't do anything to Zhuowen, he can't do anything to us either." "Blood, blood, blood," Shadow said. Feng Buming heaved a sigh of relief. When he heard that, his brows were tightly knitted together. They could not stay in this stalemate. Zhuowen did not say a word. He re-entered the green blood tea house. He had achieved his goal this time. All that was left was to delay Feng Buming and his group. His doppelganger and Siko would sneak into the Phoenix people and successfully rescue Mu Qinshui. Then they would be done, while Feng Buming and the rest were trapped in the 12 divine beings killing formation. Zhuowen and Siko were gradually approaching the Phoenix people's encampment. The two of them spent 3.5 days and stopped at a mountain peak. A few thousand meters in front of the mountain peak, a huge city shrouded in flames appeared in their line of sight. In the sky above the city, countless flames suddenly surged up and actually manifested into the phantoms of fire phoenixes. These fire phoenix shadows circled above the city. The powerful aura overflowed and made people tremble in fear. Other than the 3 clan elders and blood guardians, the Phoenix people have a total of 12 experts in the early stage of Heaven Master. Among the Phoenix people, these 12 experts are called the 12 fire deities. Based on the information from your doppelganger, Feng Buming and his group brought 7 fire deities. That is to say, there are 5 more fire deities among the Phoenix people. Siko said in a low voice. Yuefu once mentioned that there is a Phoenix Master among the Phoenix people. Could the Phoenix Master be among the Phoenix people? Zhuowen was not worried about the 12 fire deities. He was only worried about the mysterious Phoenix Master. The Phoenix Master was superior to the 3 clan elders and blood guardians. His cultivation was at least at the late stage of Heaven Master, or even stronger. Zhuowen knew that he was no match for such a terrifying expert. What he was most afraid of now was whether the mysterious Phoenix Master was also hiding among the Phoenix people. "I don't think so. The Phoenix Master hasn't appeared for countless years. There are many rumors that the Phoenix Master went to the mysterious heaven accessing place in order to pursue a higher realm. That is the most mysterious place under the starry sky. Only the Lord of Heaven accessing place is qualified to enter," Siko said with an envious look. "Siko, I'm counting on you now. I'll entrust the great world to you," Zhuowen said as he entered the great world. The great world turned into an insignificant speck of dust and stuck to the corner of Siko's clothes. Siko's eyes were solemn. His temperament was constantly changing. Soon, he looked like the Phoenix people. Even the aura on his body was exactly the same as the Phoenix people. The Phoenix people were calm and unperturbed, as usual. Even the Phoenix people who were guarding the gate looked lazy. The Phoenix people had been a strong race in this area for countless years. For many years, no one had dared to trespass into the Phoenix people. Of course, they did not think that anyone would have the guts to trespass into the Phoenix people. In their opinion, that would be courting death. Therefore, when Siko disguised himself as a Phoenix people and entered the city, he was let in without being questioned. It had to be said that the main city of the Phoenix people was very big. The most eye-catching thing was probably the sky-high tower that was set up in the center of the main city. The surface of the tower was burning with dark flames. The flames did not emit heat. Instead, they emitted a deathly chill. It was very strange. That's the Phoenix Purgatory. Siko said in a low voice, "Let's not go to the Phoenix Purgatory first. Let's go to the ancestral shrine, where the Phoenix blood pool is located." Shuowen's voice came from the great world. Siko hesitated for a while and nodded. Okay. The ancestral shrine was located in the southeast corner of the main city. This ancestral shrine was actually the memorial tablets of the powerful people of the Phoenix people. Of course, these powerful people had died, naturally, because their lifespans had reached their limits. In addition, the Phoenix blood pool was stored in the ancestral shrine. This was considered a precious and confidential item among the Phoenix people. However, the ancestral shrine was heavily guarded. The Phoenix people had specially sent 2 fire gods to guard the ancestral shrine. Chapter 3262. Barge in Lorchua. Are we just going in like this? Saika's forehead was covered in cold sweat, and his legs were weak. The ancestral shrine was heavily guarded, and he would definitely die if he barged in. Go in. Don't be afraid. I'm here. Shuowen's indifferent voice rang in Saiku's ears. Saiku smiled bitterly in his heart, but he did not dare to disobey Shuowen's order. He took a deep breath and walked toward the ancestral shrine. The guards outside the ancestral shrine were not weak at all. They were all Genesis stage experts. The 2 guards had already noticed Saiku. When Saiku reached the entrance, one of the guards extended his right hand and stopped him. "This is the ancestral shrine. What are you doing here? You want to die? Get out of here." The guard scolded coldly. Saiku did not say anything, nor did he leave. Instead, a terrifying aura suddenly erupted from his body and pressed down on the 2 guards at the entrance like a mountain. Before the 2 guards could react, 2 rays of sword light pierced through their foreheads. They did not even have time to groan before their souls were destroyed, and they died at the entrance. The entire ancestral shrine was alarmed when the battle occurred. The experts hidden in the ancestral shrine rushed out like owls in the night. "Who is it? How dare you kill the guards of the ancestral shrine? How dare you?" A middle-aged man was the first to rush out of the ancestral shrine. His eyes were filled with murderous intent, and he immediately saw Saiku standing helplessly at the entrance. "Go to hell." The middle-aged man instantly understood that Saiku, who was frightened to the point of not knowing what to do, should be the culprit. Without giving Saiku a chance to explain, the middle-aged man swung the long spear in his right hand towards Saiku. Saiku's face was pale, and he knew that he was done for. The middle-aged man's cultivation was not weak. He was in the late creation realm, and Saiku's cultivation was far from fully recovered. He was only in the early creation realm, and the gap between him and the middle-aged man was obvious. However, before the middle-aged man could get close to Saiku, he was blocked by 2 rays of sword light. These 2 sword lights were the Blood Fairy Sword and the Sacrificial Death Sword that had just killed the guards at the door. The middle-aged man retreated repeatedly. When he couldn't retreat any further, his eyes cracked and he couldn't help but let out a blood-curdling scream. His entire body was pierced through by the two sword lights, and he couldn't be more dead. Whether it was the blood immortal sword or the sacrificial death sword, they were both peak creator-level divine weapons. Either divine sword could fight a peak creator-level expert, not to mention that the middle-aged man was only a late-stage creator-level expert. Saiku, enter the ancestral shrine. Zhuowen's voice rang in Saiku's ears. Saiku had no choice but to follow Zhuowen's instructions and step into the ancestral shrine. When he saw the figures rushing out of the ancestral shrine, his heart pounded rapidly. He was so nervous that he could die. Whoosh! Whoosh! Several more figures rushed over, wanting to kill Siko. Unfortunately, they were all blocked by the blood immortal sword and the sacrificial death sword, and several of them were killed. Saiku slowly approached the ancestral shrine, and more experts appeared in the ancestral shrine. They surrounded him in circles and launched an extremely fierce attack. The blood immortal sword and the sacrificial death sword circled around Saiku. Their sword lights flickered, but Saiku could see that the two divine swords were already having trouble blocking the attacks. Moreover, peak creator-level experts had appeared in the ancestral shrine. Just those few peak creator-level experts were enough to make the sacrificial death sword and the blood immortal sword tremble. They wouldn't be able to protect them for long. When the sacrificial death sword and the blood immortal sword were about to collapse, an even more terrifying sword light shot out from the small world attached to Saiku's clothes. Terrifying thunder and fire energy spread out in all directions with Saiku as the center. The two types of energy, thunder and fire, flashed alternately. The peak creator-level Phoenix people, who were about to defeat the sacrificial death sword and the blood immortal sword, were shocked. They didn't even have time to retreat before they were swept in by the thunder and fire energy. The thunder and fire energy was too terrifying. These peak creator-level Phoenix people screamed in pain. However, their screams didn't last long. A sword light shot out from the thunder and fire domain and directly pierced through their foreheads. These peak creator-level Phoenix people didn't even have time to make a sound before they died. Their bodies were burned into ashes by the thunder and fire, a bunch of trash and ants. How dare you bully my little brother in front of me? You really don't know what's good for you. Today, I'll beat you until your parents won't recognize you. After killing the peak creator-level Phoenix people, Xiaohei was very smug. He shouted in a strange voice and cut through the void, rushing into the group of Phoenix people in the ancestral shrine. These Phoenix people who rushed out of the ancestral shrine were basically only creator-level cultivators. Although they were strong, in front of Xiaohei, they were just displaying their slight skills in front of an expert. None of them could withstand one of Xiaohei's attacks. Keep going. Into the ancestral shrine. Zhuowen's voice rang out again. Saiku nodded. After Xiaohei came out, he relaxed a lot. He knew that the Thunder Fire Sword was the highest level divine weapon Zhuowen had. It was a powerful mid-stage, heavenly crossing realm divine weapon. Other than the two fire gods guarding the ancestral shrine, the rest of the Phoenix people were nothing in front of the Thunder Fire Sword. You've got guts. How dare you trespass into the ancestral shrine? You're asking for death. A thunderous shout came from the depths of the ancestral shrine. Immediately, a terrifying attack formed into a sharp sword shape and blasted towards Saiku's vitals. The sword shape's power was too terrifying. It carried with it an unparalleled killing intent that sealed off all of Saiku's escape routes. Siko Exion's heart was in his throat. He could sense the scent of death in this sword form. Just like that, his feet seemed to be rooted to the ground, and he didn't move an inch. I'm done for. Saika's face stiffened with fear. His eyes dimmed. Rumble. However, just as Saiku was about to resign himself to death, a figure shot out of the great world at the corner of his clothes and punched the incoming sword shape. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of collisions rang out incessantly. Immediately after, the terrifying sword shape was shattered by the person's punch. The energy ripples formed from the collision spread out in all directions, forming a vast wave of energy. Saiku, enter my great world. Before Saiku could react, Zhuowen grabbed him by the collar and pulled him into his great world. Then, he stepped through the entrance of the ancestral shrine and entered it. However, the moment he stepped into the ancestral shrine, he immediately felt a resistance. Dense array ripples appeared around him. He knew that there should be a powerful array restriction set up inside the ancestral shrine. It's just a creation realm defensive array. Break. Zhuowen snorted coldly and threw a punch as well. He used the formation Dao cracking technique to land on the restriction. With a crack, the array restriction at the entrance was instantly broken by Zhuowen. Zhuowen took the opportunity to enter the ancestral shrine. How dare you, scoundrel! The moment Zhuowen entered the ancestral temple, the owner of the sword-shaped figure in the depths of the ancestral temple had already rushed out. When he saw Zhuowen actually enter the ancestral temple, he was furious and directly chased after him. Chapter 3263. Edited by Mike Here the Phoenix Blood. Pool the expert who had rushed out of the ancestral shrine was naturally one of the two fire gods guarding the shrine. He was at the early heaven-piercing lord level. This fire deity looked like a middle-aged man. His red hair soared into the sky like a cluster of burning red flames. Zhuowen stood at the entrance of the ancestral shrine and calmly looked at this fire god. He suddenly took out the Ho-E divine arrow and knocked it on the bowstring of the Ho-E divine bow. When he was halfway done, he released 2 fingers and the Ho-E divine arrow shot out like a bolt of lightning, carrying a terrifying killing intent as it charged at the fire god. The fire god, who had been charging at Zhuowen with murderous intent, trembled in fear when he sensed the Ho-E divine arrow's terrifying killing intent. Shit, it's actually the Ho-E divine arrow. The middle-aged man immediately stopped and turned to flee. The moment he sensed the Ho-E divine arrow's terrifying killing intent, he knew that it was not something he could resist, so he decisively fled. But it was too late. No matter how fast he was, he could not be faster than the Ho-E divine arrow. As soon as he turned around, Ho-E's divine arrow pierced through the back of his head and pierced through his head. The middle-aged man did not even have the chance to scream before he died. After killing the middle-aged man, Zhuowen used the torch dragon's eye and immediately saw the other fire god in the depths of the ancestral shrine. This fire god's divine sense had clearly seen everything that had happened here and knew that Zhuowen had a terrifying divine weapon like the Ho-E divine arrow. He was quietly leaving the ancestral shrine. Unfortunately, Zhuowen had already set his sights on him. Stay. After retrieving the Ho-E divine arrow, Zhuowen knocked it on the Ho-E divine arrow again and shot it into the depths of the ancestral shrine. Not long after, the other fire deity in the depths of the ancestral temple, who was ready to make a move and escape, was directly nailed to the ground. Even in death, he could not figure out how Zhuowen knew his specific location. The Phoenix people's ancestral shrine. Zhuowen flicked his sleeve and put away the Ho-E god arrow. And then he stepped into the ancestral shrine while a trace of coldness appeared in his eyes. Zhuowen stomped his foot on the ground and executed the fate space-time annihilation. A long purple river suddenly swept out from the void behind him. The purple river became more and more turbulent and expanded, eventually enveloping the entire ancestral hall. Wherever the purple river enveloped, space-time was distorted and shattered. In just an instant, The space where the ancestral temple was located was completely shattered and distorted. The huge ancestral temple collapsed and eventually turned into ruins. Through Torch Dragon's eyes, Zhuowen saw the entrance of a hidden underground passage hidden in the ruins. At this moment, the battle on the Thunder Fire Sword side was basically over. Most of the experts guarding the ancestral shrine had been killed by Xiao He and the Blood Fairy Sword and the Sacrificial Sword. Zhuowen flicked his sleeve and put away the 3 divine swords. After that, Zhuowen went into the hidden underground passage. Zhuowen's actions were too big. He had directly destroyed the ancestral shrine and completely alarmed the Phoenix people. What's going on? There seems to be a strong battle coming from the ancestral shrine. Did someone break into the Phoenix people? How is that possible? Don't you know the status of the Phoenix people in the Eldritch Heavenly Realm? In the Eldritch Heavenly Realm, who would dare to offend the Phoenix people and break into the Phoenix people? Unless that person has a screw loose. The experts of the Phoenix people in the main city came out of their seclusion and rushed towards the ancestral shrine. However, the moment they came out, they found that the magnificent ancestral shrine in the southeast of the main city had been turned into ruins. Who is it? How dare he tear down the ancestral shrine of the Phoenix people? We must catch the culprit and make him pay a painful price. All the Phoenix people experts were furious. They madly gathered at the ancestral shrine. Among them were the other 3 fire deities who were still in the main city. The 3 fire deities were also angry, but they were calmer than the others. They sent out a message to seal off the entire Phoenix people. Then they led the elites of the Phoenix people and rushed towards the ancestral shrine. The basement was very spacious. In the middle of the basement was a pool of magma-like water that emitted a scorching aura that made him uncomfortable. Through the Torch Dragon's eye, Zhuowen saw that there were many divine souls floating in the pool. However, these divine souls were very weak. They were only about 1/10,000th of a complete divine soul. Zhuowen knew that the pool in front of him was the Phoenix blood pool that Yuefu had mentioned. These divine souls should be the divine souls left behind by important figures of the Phoenix people. Back then, Elder Hong relied on the Phoenix blood pool to be resurrected. Zhuowen waved his right hand and caught a divine soul in his hand. He was very familiar with the aura of this divine soul. It was the divine soul left behind by the second elder of the Phoenix people. As the divine soul left behind here was too weak, it was basically in a state of unconsciousness. The divine soul of Elder Hong in his hand was the same. Without hesitation, Zhuowen crushed the last strand of Elder Hong's soul. Then he unceremoniously stored the pool of Phoenix blood into his great world. Zhuowen also entered the great world. At this moment, in the great world, the saintess of the Phoenix people was sitting cross-legged on the shore of a small island in the middle of the lake. Her beautiful eyes were filled with determination. She wanted to become stronger than Zhuowen. Then she would be able to break out of this great world and regain her freedom. Soon, the saintess of the Phoenix people noticed something strange. Then she looked up and saw a stream of magma-like water pouring down from the sky. This can't be the Phoenix blood pool, right? The saintess of the Phoenix people was no stranger to the Phoenix blood pool, because a divine soul of hers was in the Phoenix blood pool. The moment the water entered the great world, she felt the connection with her divine soul. But how was this possible? The Phoenix blood pool was placed in the ancestral shrine of the Phoenix people. The place was heavily guarded. How could Zhuowen break in? Zhuowen landed on the small island in the middle of the lake, not far from the saintess of the Phoenix people. Zhuowen looked at the saintess of the Phoenix people indifferently and said, "Saintess, please move aside." The saintess of the Phoenix people subconsciously moved aside. Zhuowen dug a deep pit not far from the attic of the small island in the middle of the lake. After the deep pit was completed, the phoenix blood that poured down from the sky fell into the deep pit, forming a new phoenix blood pool. Zhuowen, this is the phoenix blood pool. The saintess of the phoenix people's beautiful eyes were filled with shock. Zhuowen ignored the saintess of the phoenix people. Instead, he said to Ghost Plume and Yin Wuxia, who had rushed over, "The two of you destroy all the divine souls in the pool. I still have some matters to attend to outside. Oh, right, remember not to let the saintess touch the pool water. Otherwise, you know the consequences." After giving his instructions, Zhuowen left the great world. The saintess of the phoenix people was so angry that her chest heaved violently. Zhuowen had gone too far. He had actually ignored her completely. At the same time, the saintess of the phoenix people had an ominous premonition. She guessed that Zhuowen had broken into the ancestral shrine. This kid had even destroyed the phoenix blood pool. Could it be that he was like a fish in water among the phoenix people? Could it be that no one could suppress him? That's impossible. This kid's aura is only at the peak of the God of Creation stage. No matter how strong he is, it's impossible for him to break out of the phoenix people alive. As long as this kid dies, I'll have a chance to escape. Chapter 3264. The Ancestral Temple Ruins. Above the ancestral temple ruins, many phoenix people gathered. The most eye-catching ones were the three leading figures. These three were the remaining three fire deities who had stayed behind to guard the phoenix people. Among the three fire deities, one of them had a handsome face and was dressed in white. He looked like an elegant young master. His name was Hiyu. The other one was a middle-aged dwarf who was less than 5 feet tall. His name was Wenrui. The last one was an old man with white hair and a white beard. His name was Hixien. Among the three fire deities, his aura was the strongest. He was not any weaker than Gao Ge. In fact, he was even stronger. At this moment, Hixien landed in the ancestral temple ruins. When he saw the other two dead fire deities, his eyes were filled with shock and anger. Both Jian Xiu and Jia Yun are dead. They were killed in a short period of time. The killer must be at least a middle-stage master of heaven or above. Hixien's eyes were filled with fear as he spoke in a low voice. Hiyu, Wenrui, and the rest of the phoenix people were also silent. They were shocked. It had only been a short while since they had sensed the fluctuations of the battle. However, Jian Xiu and Jia Yun, two early-stage masters of heaven, had already died. If the opponent was really so strong, it would be difficult for Hixien, Hiyu, Wenrui, and the rest of the group to kill such an expert. I'll inform the two guardians of Xuanhua first. Hixien's eyes were solemn as he took out a communication jade talisman and sent a message to the two guardians of Xuanhua. He told them everything that had happened in the Phoenix people. Boom. After Hixien put away the communication jade talisman, the ancestral temple ruins suddenly collapsed. The tunnel that had been buried by the ruins was blasted open by a force. Zhuowen slowly walked out of the tunnel under everyone's watchful eyes. Zhuowen had already seen Hixien and the rest. He looked very calm as he looked at them and said indifferently, "Are you here to block the way?" Hixien and the others were all stunned. They didn't know this guy at all, but wasn't he a little too arrogant? They could all guess that this guy was the one who tore down the ancestral shrine. However, after this guy came out, he acted as if nothing had happened and even asked them why they were blocking the way. Just how big was this guy's nerves? "Friend, we have never seen you before. The Phoenix clan has no enmity with you. Why did you barge into our Phoenix clan's ancestral hall and destroy it?" Hixien suppressed the anger in his heart and said in a deep voice, Although Zhuowen's aura was only that of a god of creation, He Xian didn't dare to be careless. He knew very well that since this person was able to destroy the ancestral temple and annihilate more than 10 guardians, including the supervisor and Jia Yun in a short period of time, this person was absolutely not a simple figure. He Xian didn't move. He Yu, Wen Ruwei, and the other Phoenix people's experts naturally didn't act rashly either. If you know my name, you'll know why I've come to you Phoenix people. Zhuowen said calmly. Who are you? He Xian asked, feeling that something was amiss. My name is Zhuowen. Zhuowen said calmly. He Xian's pupils shrank as he stared fixedly at Zhuowen. Zhuowen's fame was too great during this period of time, and it had spread throughout the entire territory of the Phoenix clan. He Xian couldn't be more familiar with the name Zhuowen. However, he had never seen Zhuowen's appearance before. This was also why he hadn't recognized Zhuowen when he'd seen Zhuowen. The funny thing was that Feng Bumming had already led the 2 Xuanhua guardians and the other 7 fire deities to Phoenix Blood City to encircle and annihilate Zhuowen. However, he hadn't expected that Zhuowen would attack the Phoenix people's nest at this time. Zhuowen, you've killed many of our Phoenix people. Now, you've even tore down the ancestral shrine of the Phoenix people. Isn't that enough? Now that you've left the Phoenix people, we can treat it as if nothing had happened. He Xian took a deep breath and suppressed the anger in his heart as he spoke to Zhuowen. Zhuowen's strength was simply too terrifying. Originally, when it was rumored that this kid had killed the 3 commanders and 2 elders of Phoenix Blood City, he didn't believe it and thought that it was just an exaggeration. Now that he saw that the 2 fire deities, Jian Xiu and Jia Yun, had been dealt with in such a short time, he knew that this kid's strength was probably even stronger than the rumors. If they joined forces, it would be difficult to keep Zhuowen here. Furthermore, there was the risk of being completely wiped out. He Xian didn't dare to face a ruthless person like Zhuowen head-on. Of course, if there were experts like the 2 Xuanhua guardians in the clan, He Xian wouldn't dare to be so cowardly. You're sending me away now. Are you dreaming? Zhuowen walked forward step by step as the aura on his body rapidly increased. His entire body emitted a dazzling, crystalline light. In just an instant, Zhuowen arrived in front of He Xian and ruthlessly punched him. With this punch, Zhuowen used the profound meaning sky-splitting blade and heaven and earth perishing at the same time. His punch had the majestic sharpness of the sky-splitting blade and the terrifying destructive energy of heaven and earth perishing at the same time. He Xian also punched out, but his expression quickly changed. Zhuowen's punch gave him too much pressure. Bang! The 2 fists collided, and the terrifying fist energy intertwined, sweeping up a terrifying astral wind energy. He Xian spat out a mouthful of blood and was directly sent flying. His right fist was smashed into pieces by Zhuowen's powerful fist energy. Zhuowen let out a muffled groan. His body swayed, but he managed to stabilize himself in time. Let's attack together and destroy this Zhuowen. He Xian immediately shouted the moment he was sent flying. The moment He Yu and Wen Ruwei received the order, they burst out with the aura of an early stage Tong Tian master. They split up and attacked Zhuowen from both sides. The remaining dozens of Phoenix people were unwilling to fall behind. They all chased after Zhuowen and surrounded him. Zhuowen was like a peerless god of war as he fiercely charged forward and exchanged a punch with He Yu and Wen Ruwei, respectively. Terrifying energy exploded. He Yu and Wen Ruwei both let out a muffled groan and spat out a mouthful of blood. They couldn't help but retreat. On the other hand, Zhuowen's face was slightly pale. He resisted the urge to spit out blood. Instead of retreating, he advanced and caught up with He Yu, who was flying backward, and punched out again. Yu's expression changed slightly. He found it hard to believe. This Zhuowen actually took his, and when Rui's joint attack, and advanced instead of retreating. This guy was too abnormal. Seeing that Zhuowen's attack was getting closer and closer, Yu could only muster all the energy in his body to meet it. Bang! Yu's hands were directly broken. Fortunately, he managed to block Zhuowen's attack. Before Yu could celebrate, a sword light wrapped in thunder and fire swept out from Zhuowen's waist and quickly pierced through Yu's forehead. Yu only felt a pain in his forehead. Then his sea of consciousness became chaotic, and he lost consciousness. Bang!